Chapter 521 Shadows Surge, Spirit Grain. Before the gates of Zhangzhou Prefecture City, several figures, dressed plainly but standing tall, exuded a gloomy and chilling aura. Zhangzhou Prefecture, according to the intelligence we've gathered, a few months ago, there was a youth who committed a massacre here, annihilating an innate realm family. The youth's appearance and stature might differ greatly from the one who slew Xianming and the others in the Holy City. However, according to the information we've traced along the way, it's very likely that this youth is the same individual who stirred up endless disturbances in the Holy City. One of the figures, gazing at the city gates ahead, spoke slowly. That's right. The news from the Holy City indicates that the person there bore the surname Liu and had close ties with Tianji Building. More than 2 years ago, Tianji Building had issued its last hidden dragon list. The noteworthy genius youth on that list also bore the surname Liu, and he hailed from Tsang State. The second figure added. More than 2 years ago, he was only at the Muscle Bone realm, yet after more than 2 years, he could trigger Tribulation Thunder and step into the innate. Without showing any signs of weakness, right after he broke through the tribulation, he was able to slay Xianming and others, and defeat the third Saint Master. It's astonishing that such an exceptional genius has appeared in the outer world. The rules of heaven and earth have only just begun to stabilize, and yet someone has already managed to forcefully transcend the heavenly tribulation, which is truly devilish. The third figure spoke with a tone filled with disbelief. This is what Tower Master said, with the changes in heaven and earth and the revival of spiritual energy, the fortunes of heaven and earth will be redistributed, giving rise to many children of fate. But only those situated in the outer regions of heaven and earth have the chance of being favored by the fortunes of heaven and earth. This youth, surnamed Liu, must be one born with great destiny, which is why he's so extraordinary. I believe it's not just that he's endowed with great fortune. There must be other significant secrets about him. Otherwise, it's difficult to explain how he could strengthen himself so swiftly and against all norms. Upon hearing this, several eyes lit up, finding the point quite valid. Only the leading figure spoke indifferently. Don't get any ideas. Regardless of the secrets he holds, he is now a presence we cannot afford to provoke. Before we came out, our leader also mentioned that our mission is to find out the truth behind the deaths of Xianming and the others and to understand the current trends of the world. All else should be avoided. Do you understand? Yes. The other figures felt a chill in their hearts and responded in unison. Although they all held themselves in high regard, they still dared not show the slightest disrespect in the presence of this figure. For all their skills had been honed by this very individual. Elder Yu, what should we do now? Someone inquired. Let's enter the city first and see if we can find out anything about this individual's background. The figures concealed their presence and stealthily entered the city. Though the city was heavily guarded, it was virtually non-existent for these mysterious individuals. Once inside the city, they dispersed to gather information. At night, several figures leapt down from the city walls to the wilderness outside. How did it go? Did anyone find anything? Nothing. I captured a few profligate sons of noble families for interrogation, but I didn't get any useful information. Same for me. I even used extreme torture on a family head, and he still claimed not to know the young man's true identity. I looked around at the city lord mansion, equally without result. After exchanging information, they realized that within the state mansion city, no one knew of the young man named Liu Qing from the hidden dragon list. Could it be that no one in the entire state mansion city knows the origins of this Liu Qing? Or could it be that this person isn't from Tsang State? One figure wondered aloud. It's impossible. The hidden dragon list has a slight connection with the mysterious path of fate. Tianji Building would never deliberately leave erroneous information on it. Elder Yu shook his head and said, there is only one possibility. The place where Liu Qing has been secretly cultivating is not within the city. It is very likely a more remote area. Elder Yu, what should we do now? Let's go, let's investigate elsewhere. Have you dealt with the loose ends properly? Everything has been taken care of. By the time the people inside notice, will have long been gone. That's good. Several figures quietly disappeared into the night. Only in the late night did the city stir with noises, as a family discovered that their family head had been silently and horribly killed in a dried well. Other forces found that their disciples had also died horrifically in their rooms. Even the maids and servants who attended to them met with untimely deaths. Even in the city lord mansion, guards holding important positions died without a sound. For a moment, the entire state mansion city was shaken, and the city lord was alarmed. Unfortunately, they were destined to find out nothing. The perpetrators had already left the Zhangzhou prefecture city far behind. Lu Qing, of course, knew nothing of what was happening in State Mansion City. Since successfully setting up the array, his life had once again become leisurely. Besides cultivating daily, he would check on the medicine field. With the gathering spirit steel continuously attracting the earth qi and spiritual energy, the situation in the medicine field was changing day by day. In just a few days, the spiritual energy had become so dense that it was almost comparable to that of Azure Dragon City. And over these days, the happiest of all was the 1,000-year-old ginseng. Nourished by such thick earth qi and spiritual energy, even its body seemed to have gotten plumper. In an obscure way, even its spiritual wisdom had improved. By the 5th day, Lu Qing felt that the earth qi and spiritual energy condensed by the gathering spirit steel had reached a peak and could no longer increase. However, Lu Qing was already quite satisfied. After all, the gathering spirit steel was made from ordinary jade that he had refined, and it inherently had a limit. To be able to condense earth qi and spiritual energy to this extent was already quite remarkable. So, once he felt that the effects of the gathering spirit steel had reached its limit, he immediately cultivated the remaining plots of land next to the medicine field. Elder Yen, after opening up this spirit field, what should be planted first as a priority? After cultivating a few spirit fields, Lu Qing asked. Elder Yen, being a relic who had lived for tens of thousands of years, held a high status in the Lihua sect and was both broad in knowledge and a grandmaster-level existence in artifact refining and alchemy, holding to the old saying that having an elder at home is like having a treasure. Lu Qing would still consult it on matters when necessary. These spirit fields you have opened have been nurtured for too short a time. Their foundation is still superficial, and their spiritual charm is insufficient. It would be difficult to cultivate two precious medicinal herbs. I suggest you start by planting some spirit grain, replied Elder Yen, living up to his status as an ancient relic and quickly offering his advice. Spirit grain. Yes, spirit grain may not seem as precious as those spirit medicines or spirit grass, but it has the advantage of being easy to cultivate. And the spiritual charm contained in spirit rice is extremely gentle and easy for people to absorb. I see you seem to be building a foundation for little Yen. This spirit grain is most suitable for nurturing her body. Chapter 522. Spirit Awakening Technique, Enthusiasm, Selecting Rice Varieties. That's good. Junior will first plant the spirit grain. Lu Qing decided to do so as soon as he heard that spirit grain could forge a foundation for little Yen. However, Senior, how should the planting of the spirit grain proceed? I don't have any spirit grain seeds on hand. Now that spiritual energy had only just begun to revive, all the spiritual objects in the world had yet to be nurtured. To plant spirit grain, one still needed seeds. Without spirit grain seeds, they can be cultivated on one's own. It's just more troublesome. During the ancient immortal cultivation era, there were many types of spiritual materials, not all of which were naturally created. Many were cultivated by the cultivators themselves. In the inheritance you obtained from the Lihua sect, is there a spirit awakening technique? Lu Qing searched his memory and nodded. There is. Yen paused slightly. It was just a casual inquiry. But to its surprise, Lu Qing actually knew the spirit awakening technique. This made it even more curious about which member of the Lihua sect had left the inheritance to Lu Qing, and why it even contained techniques like the spirit awakening technique. However, Yen didn't inquire further and instead said, since you understand the spirit awakening technique, everything should be easy. This technique is a method of transforming the mundane into the spiritual. It essentially is about gathering the essence of the heavens and earth and infusing it into ordinary objects. If the enlightenment is done properly, one can transform the mundane into the spiritual and have the chance to turn ordinary objects into spiritual objects. Go and find some grain seeds of better quality to see if they can be enlightened into spirit grain seeds using the spirit awakening technique. It is rumored that practitioners with profound cultivation could even turn a stubborn stone into a spirit within the stone. However, such a divine skill that turns decay into wonder is difficult to achieve even for primordial spirit great powers. In the nearly 10,000 years of inheritance from the Li Hua sect, no such person has ever appeared. And for you, simply enlightening a bit of spirit grain should not be difficult. As Yen explained, Lu Qing also pondered the spirit awakening technique in his inherited memories. The inheritance he obtained from the leaving fire tripod had been quite complex. Therefore, he had only glanced over most of it cursorily and not practiced it. Now after pondering, he found that the spirit awakening technique was indeed, as Yen said, a technique for transforming the mundane into the spiritual. Moreover, this technique was generally practiced by cultivators who cultivated the wood element technique. Wood represents vitality. Cultivators who practiced the wood element technique were much stronger in handling vitality qi than other cultivators. In cultivating spiritual plants, they were even more adept. The spirit awakening technique was an essential magic for them. You're saying you need grain seeds of better quality, right? That's easy. Lu Qing immediately went down the mountain, returned to the village, and arrived at Grandpa Zhang's house. By chance, Grandpa Zhang was at home and was surprised to see Lu Qing. "Ah Qing, what brings you here?" Come in. Since Lu Qing's return, he had been busy with various matters, spending most of his time at the half-mountain small courtyard. Thus, Grandpa Zhang had hardly been able to see him. "Grandpa Zhang, I have come this time to ask for the help of the villagers," Lu Qing said politely as he sat down. "What is it?" Grandpa Zhang was taken aback, unable to think of anything that the villagers could help Lu Qing with. "I need some rice seeds of better quality, so I thought to ask everyone in the village to help gather some. Of course, I will pay for them." Lu Qing knew that rural villagers would generally have rice seeds kept for themselves, rarely buying from elsewhere. Just recently, the village's rice harvest was bountiful, so everyone should have some rice seeds saved at home. "What you're saying is too formal, it's just some rice seeds." "Fine, I'll go to every household in the village and let them know. See who has saved up rice seeds already." Upon hearing this request from Lu Qing, although Grandpa Zhang didn't know what he wanted the rice seeds for, he agreed immediately. "Grandpa Zhang, please make sure they are of the best quality possible. I have an important use for them," Lu Qing reminded. "Don't you worry, I will definitely get them to bring out their best rice seeds," Grandpa Zhang asserted, patting his chest. "Then I'll head back to the mountain first. Once the rice seeds are ready, Grandpa Zhang, just let me know. It doesn't need to be a lot, around 10 caddies will do." "Okay, you go ahead with your work. Once I gather the rice seeds from everyone, I will deliver them to you." After Lu Qing left, Grandpa Zhang pondered for a bit. He first instructed his daughter-in-law to prepare the best rice seeds at home, and then he walked out of his house and headed to other villagers' houses. The first one he visited was the home of an old pal. Old Wang, are you home?" "Who is it?" Hearing the shout, a young man walked out of the house and immediately looked more respectful upon seeing Grandpa Zhang. "Oh, it's Grandpa Zhang. My grandpa is at home. Please come in." Grandpa Zhang sat down inside. "Where's your grandpa?" "He was taking a nap in the back room. I'll go call him." Soon after, an elderly man about Grandpa Zhang's age came out from the back room. He looked a bit sleepy. "Old Zhang, it's rare for you to come by. What brings you here? Can't I come sit with you if there's nothing else?" Grandpa Zhang said with a smile. "Bullshit. In this sweltering heat, you're telling me you've got nothing better to do than trek over to my place at midday for nothing? You must be kidding." Old Wang glared, not believing a word of Grandpa Zhang's. After so many years, how could he not know the old man's character? "Ha! I won't beat around the bush. I'll tell you the truth. Ah Qing just came to see me." "Ah Qing came looking for you?" What for? Old Wang's expression instantly grew serious. Logically, Lu Qing lived right next door to Old Zhang, so visiting his house was an ordinary matter. Chapter 523. But since the old buddy had spoken so, it was clear that it was not an ordinary matter. Qing said he wants to collect some good quality rice seeds for important use. He was wondering if anyone in the village had any good seeds. He wants to buy some. As I recall, this year's rice from your household was about the best in the village. Do you have any rice seeds left? Of course, I've saved some, quite a bit actually. Several families in the village have arranged to get rice seeds from me. My in-laws said they wanted some seeds, so I kept 2 bags. Old Wang beamed with pride upon hearing Grandpa Zhang praise his family's rice. But soon enough, he looked puzzled. But what does Qing need the rice seeds for? Surely he doesn't plan on farming. I don't know either, but Qing is someone who undertakes big things. If he needs rice seeds, it must be for a good reason. It's rare for him to ask. We definitely can't hold him back. Of course, it's not every day that Qing asks for our help. How could we refuse? I'll have Qiu take the 2 bags of rice seeds from our house over there. Qiu was Old Wang's youngest son, the same young man who had greeted Grandpa Zhang earlier. You'll bring it all over? Won't you keep some for yourself? And how will you explain it to your in-laws? Grandpa Zhang's eyes widened. Compared with Qing's matter, this is nothing. At most, I'll save more of the eating rice and just plant lower quality seeds next year. As for my in-laws, it'll be fine once I speak to them. Old Wang said nonchalantly. As for the others in the village, he believed if they knew the seeds were for Qing, they wouldn't have any objections. All right, as long as you're aware, have Qiu take the stuff over to my place. I still need to visit some other people in the village, and then we'll take everything up the mountain together. In the time that followed, Grandpa Zhang visited every household in the village that had grown rice this year. Upon hearing that Lu Qing needed rice seeds, everyone immediately brought out their best seeds without hesitating and gathered them at Grandpa Zhang's house, then prepared to take them as a group to Half Mountain Small Courtyard. Old Zhang. Just as Grandpa Zhang and the others were preparing to go up the mountain, an old man about their age came rushing in hastily. Are you going to bring the rice seeds up the mountain? Yes, why, Old Lin, are you going to? I recall your family didn't grow rice this year. Grandpa Zhang asked, puzzled. My family didn't grow rice, but we grew wheat last year. Could you ask Qing if he needs wheat seeds? Wheat seeds? Grandpa Zhang hesitated. Qing didn't mention this. He only spoke of rice seeds. How would you know if you don't ask? What if Qing also wants wheat seeds? Old Man Lin said earnestly. Someone who saw his eagerness couldn't help but tease. Old Lin, you're usually so stingy. You'd pluck feathers from a rooster walking by. Why are you so generous now? Rushing to give away your wheat seeds. What are you talking about? What are you saying, Old Chun? As stingy as I am, could I be stingier than you? You say I'd pluck a rooster's feathers. I'd say you wouldn't even spare the chicken droppings. Don't think others don't know. The last time your field lacked fertility, someone saw you sneakily stealing chicken manure from the neighbor to use as fertilizer. Old Lin got worked up upon hearing this, jumping to his feet and cursing at the old man who had made fun of him. Besides, could Qing's matter be just any ordinary issue? If it were up to you, old ghost, I wouldn't want to give a single grain. But Qing is someone destined for great things. If he asks for grain seeds, there must be significant use. Even if I had to empty out my house, I would be glad to do it. Elder Chun, publicly called out by Old Lin, couldn't save his face and was about to retort when Grandpa Zhang coughed. Enough, you're all adults yet quarreling. You don't want the kids to laugh at you. Old Lin, I don't know whether Qing needs wheat seeds or not. Why don't you come with us later and ask him in person? Right, I'll go myself and ask Qing. I always feel that if he needs grain seeds, he probably needs wheat seeds too. Old Man Lin declared immediately. After this interlude, the group finally set off. Each family brought their own rice seeds up to the Half Mountain Small Courtyard. Many, fearing they wouldn't have enough, also carried 2 bags of rice grain with them. During the ascend, someone quietly said to the elder surnamed Chen, Old Chun, Why provoke old Lin, knowing full well he has a sharp tongue? Isn't this just asking for trouble? Humph, am I afraid of him? The elder surnamed Chun replied stubbornly. I know you don't get along with old Lin, but his leg pain flared up recently, and he could barely get out of bed. It was Ah Ching who cured him with a spell. You taunt him, wanting to help Ah Ching, and it's odd that he's not mad at you. The elder surnamed Chun fell silent. In fact, he felt a bit of regret. It's just that he and old Lin had been at odds for decades, and it was almost instinctual to want to take a jab. Who knew the old ghost would react so vehemently? This time, many people went up the mountain. Anyone who had saved some rice seeds brought them all out after hearing Grandpa Zhang's words, collectively delivering them to the mountain. So when they saw the villagers carrying their loads, marching mightily up to the half-mountain small courtyard, even Lu Qing was somewhat stunned. Ah Qing, everyone has brought their rice seeds. Just pick whatever you want, Grandpa Zhang said, placing his rice seeds in front of Lu Qing first. Lu Qing snapped back to reality and looked at the almost 1,000 jin. Approximate. 1,100 pounds of rice and rice seeds before him with a mix of laughter and tears. Grandpa Zhang, didn't you tell them? I only need about 10 jin of rice seeds. There's no need for so much. The key point was that his cultivation was limited. With so much rice seed, he alone couldn't perform the enlightenment on all of them. I did say that, but when everyone heard you were selecting the good seeds, they weren't sure what would meet your requirements, so they simply brought all of them for you to pick through thoroughly, Grandpa Zhang explained. Lu Qing, however, seeing the smiles on the villagers' faces, he knew they were just trying to help him. Touched, he also smiled. Then I thank everyone. No thanks necessary, no thanks necessary. It's what we should do. Yes, if it weren't for your spells, Ah Qing, our village might not even have any vegetables left to dry out now. It's just a little rice seed, not worth much money. The villagers spoke up one by one. All right, Ah Qing, start checking to see if any of these seeds are what you're looking for, Grandpa Zhang said then. Okay. Lu Qing knew that to put on airs now would only dampen the villagers' enthusiasm. So he stopped refusing, opened the food bags each family had brought, and carefully selected their seeds. His method of selecting rice seeds wasn't based solely on their plump appearance. Instead, he directly sensed the primordial qi and vitality contained within the seeds. So, with concentrated focus, he summoned a streak of azure radiance in his hand, gently caressing the rice seeds. This azure radiance was an application of the spirit awakening technique. While Grandpa Zhang was walking around the village, gathering rice seeds for Lu Qing used this time to activate his superpower, cultivating and contemplating the spirit awakening technique. It didn't take long for him to completely master the technique, and this process seriously astonished Yen once again. Although the spirit awakening technique was not considered very profound, any cultivator with spirit power could practice it. Yet Lu Qing had managed to perfect it in such a short amount of time. This level of understanding and talent for spells was truly unparalleled in his lifetime. As Lu Qing's azure radiance covered the rice seeds in the bag, he easily discerned which seeds had the fullest primordial qi and the best vitality. With a thought, plump seeds floated up from the bags, gradually falling into the finely woven bamboo basket he had prepared in advance. And this miraculous scene naturally left all the villagers dumbfounded. Chapter 524 Enlightenment County Crisis. Lu Qing, using a cultivator's methods, selected the rice seeds. The villagers had never seen such a magical scene before, and they were all wide-eyed with astonishment. With the help of a spell, Lu Qing quickly selected a batch of the best rice seeds from all the grains. Looking at the plump, golden seeds in the bamboo basket, Lu Qing nodded with satisfaction. Grandpa Zhang, I've made my selection. The rest, let everyone take them home. Is this little bit enough for you? Do you want to pick some more? Grandpa Zhang was also stunned by the spell Lu Qing had just displayed, and it took him a while to come to his senses before he hurriedly said, It's enough. I can't use more for the time being. Lu Qing smiled. With his current cultivation, the amount of rice seeds he could enlighten was limited. Besides, the spirit field that had been cultivated on the mountain wasn't very large. The selected rice seeds were already more than enough. That's fine as long as you know what you need. If it's not enough, I'll get everyone to bring you more. Grandpa Zhang nodded and didn't try to persuade further. By the way, Grandpa Zhang, everyone has gone to so much trouble to help me gather these rice seeds, which must have been hard work. Here's some silver. Please distribute it to everyone as a small token of my appreciation. Lu Qing took out a pouch from his bosom. Just then, before Grandpa Zhang could respond, the other villagers started waving their hands in refusal. Ah Qing, what are you talking about? We're all from the same village. It's just a bit of rice seed. There's no need for your silver. That's right. You've been treating our illnesses without ever charging us a consultation or medicine fee. Exactly, and you used your spells a few days ago to protect the village. We haven't even thanked you for that yet. The villagers weren't foolish. Ever since the anomaly appeared in the village last time, they could feel the changes that had taken place over the past few days. They knew that Lu Qing must have done something for the village, and it was definitely something extremely good. After all, in recent days, everyone clearly felt that they were sleeping better and their bodies were slowly becoming more vital and energetic. Even some elderly people discovered that the chronic ailments from years of labor were gradually improving. Where would they not know that all these changes were brought by Lu Qing? In this world, having a healthy body is extremely precious. Compared to that, providing Lu Qing with some rice seed was really insignificant, and they were reluctant to take his silver. In fact, fearing that Lu Qing would insist on giving them the silver, they simply hoisted their loads and walked down the mountain laughing and talking. The topic of conversation was mostly about the spell that Lu Qing had displayed a short while ago. Watching the villagers not giving himself even a chance to distribute the silver and leaving on their own, Lu Qing, after a few moments, he laughed and shook his head, putting the pouch away. Well, since it was everyone's will, he would accept it. I told you, they surely wouldn't want to take your money, Grandpa Zhang said. You're just too polite sometimes, which could easily make you seem distant from everyone. You're right, Grandpa Zhang. Lu Qing humbly accepted the reprimand. Ah Qing, do you only need rice seed? What about barley seed? Do you need any? Just then, a voice rang out from the side. It was Old Man Lin who had finally found an opportunity to ask. Barley seed. Lu Qing thought for a moment. Does Grandpa Lin's family have good barley seed? Of course, I might not dare to claim much else, but for barley seed, I can guarantee you won't find better than ours, not just in our village, but in the nearby ones too. Old Man Lin boasted with pride. Grandpa Zhang, although somewhat embarrassed by Old Man Lin's boasting, still nodded and said, That's true. Speaking of planting barley, indeed Grandpa Lin's is the best in the nearby villages. Hearing even Grandpa Zhang say so, Lu Qing didn't hesitate. He nodded. Since Grandpa Lin's family has such good barley seed, if possible, please set some aside for me. After all, when the weather cooled, he could try to cultivate some spiritual barley. All right then, just wait. I'll go and get you some barley seed. Upon hearing this, Old Man Lin was overjoyed and immediately scampered down the mountain with the agility of youth. Grandpa Lin, take it easy. I'm not in a rush. Lu Qing hurriedly shouted, afraid the old man might fall. Let him be, Grandpa Zhang said amusedly. That old fellow had leg troubles before and could hardly get out of bed. Since you healed him completely, now he can't wait to walk 10 laps around the village every day. Lu Qing. The old man's energy was surprisingly more robust than he had expected. Old Man Lin quickly returned with a bag of barley seed. Lu Qing opened it and saw that the barley grains within were indeed plump, one of the finest he had seen. Didn't I tell you? There's hardly a few in the 10-mile radius with barley seed better than mine. Old Man Lin said triumphantly. Truly good barley seed, Grandpa Lin. I'll buy all of it. Lu Qing felt the vitality within the barley seeds and found it to be even stronger than the rice seeds he had selected. Immediately, he decided to keep all of it. What are you talking about, buy? I'm giving these to you. Those guys just now didn't take money. So how can I, the old man, be worse than them? Old Man Lin glared and put up a front like giving him money would be an insult. Lu Qing paused, no longer mentioning paying for the seeds. He knew somewhat of Old Man Lin's reclusive and stubborn personality, which usually left him at odds with many villagers. Chapter 525. Now it was clearly a competition with the fellow villagers from before. Then, "Thank you very much for the generosity, Grandpa Lin." Hearing this, Old Man Lin beamed with joy. He then continued chatting with Lu Qing for a while before descending the mountain with Elder Zhang. "Young master, the villagers in your village are quite simple and honest." After everyone had left, the voice of Yen resounded in Lu Qing's mind. It was aware of everything that had just happened. "Everyone has always been very nice to me and little Yen," Lu Qing said with a smile. He remembered the events that had transpired when he first arrived in this world. In another village, his and little Yan's experiences might have been very different. Yan didn't speak, but it somewhat understood why Lu Qing had expended so much effort to set up an array in this village. "Elder Yan, before performing the spirit awakening technique, is there anything special I should know?" Lu Qing, carrying 2 types of seeds, asked. "There's nothing particular. Your mastery of the spirit awakening technique is already profound. Enriching a bit of spirit grain shouldn't be a problem." At this point, Yen remembered the process Lu Qing had gone through earlier to comprehend the spirit awakening technique, and was still somewhat amazed. The difficulty of the spell seemed non-existent for Lu Qing. He had merely skimmed through it and was still able to almost completely master it. His comprehension was terrifyingly strong. Hearing Yan's guidance, Lu Qing was reassured. Carrying the spirit grain back inside, he made preparations and filled a wooden basin with clean water. After instructing little Yen and little Li not to disturb him, he entered the quiet room where his master usually practiced alchemy and closed off from the outside world. Having entered the quiet room, Lu Qing placed the basin of water in front of him. He then concentrated, gathered a bit of spiritual charm at his fingertips, and gently tapped it into the water. As the mental method circulated, he attracted a large amount of wood element spiritual energy from the surrounding nature, which merged into the clear water as vibrant spiritual charm. Before long, the basin of water turned into a liquid with a faint green hue, filled with the life force of wood's spiritual charm. Then, Lu Qing slowly poured the selected rice seeds into the wooden basin. While Lu Qing was concentrating on cultivating the spirit grain seeds, several figures appeared before the gates of Song County. Song County, according to the information we've recently gathered, a major event happened here over 2 years ago. Elder Wang Tsongi of the Northern Border Sky Blue Sect, an expert in the innate realm, once led his disciples to besiege a minor noble family here, supposedly to seize a treasure. In the end, however, they were repelled by a mysterious pair of mentor and disciple. The young disciple, possessing cultivation of the muscle-bone realm, defeated a disciple of Wang Tsongi, who was at the perfection of the inner organs realm. Furthermore, it's rumored that a disciple from Tianji Building was also present in Song County at that time, preventing a large-scale battle in the innate realm. All indications suggest that this young man might be the one known as Lu Qing on the hidden dragon list. The leading figure, looking at the county gates ahead, said solemnly, "Indeed, and remember, the one who killed Shen Ming and others in Holy City also seemed to have a master. Thus, this Lu Qing is very likely the person we are looking for." Another figure added, "Elder Yu, what should we do now? Return to the secret realm and report?" A figure inquired. "Not yet. These are still just our speculations. We need further confirmation." The leading figure shook his head. "How shall we confirm? According to the intelligence we've obtained, there's a minor noble family with the surname Wei in this county, seemingly having a close relationship with that pair of master and disciple. After night falls, we shall enter and capture a couple of important figures from the Wei family for interrogation, and then everything will be crystal clear." "That's a good idea." The others immediately agreed. After all, they had become quite adept at such operations over the past few days. Thus, the group did not enter the city but quietly lurked outside, waiting for nightfall. The people inside Song County remained completely unaware that a group of terrifyingly powerful experts from the innate realm was lurking outside their town. Time steadily passed and, as dusk approached and the city gates were about to close, an old figure, dressed simply and carrying a bamboo basket, appeared outside the gates. "Old man, it's getting late. Are you still going into the city?" The city guard, spotting the elder, asked somewhat curiously. The elderly gentleman showed a kind smile. "The old man is a doctor. I've been practicing medicine in the nearby villages these past few days and just ran out of medicinal materials, so I thought to enter the city to buy some." The city guard, observing the medicine basket on the old man's back and the medicine hoe hanging at his waist, had no doubts. He said with some respect, "So it's old Dr. Chun. Please come in quickly. We are about to close the city gates, and if you delay any further, you won't be able to enter." The old man nodded and slowly walked towards the city. After crossing several streets, he arrived in front of a grand mansion. The doorman, upon seeing the figure of the old man, first rubbed his eyes. After confirming he was seeing correctly, he shuddered, immediately bent down and ran over. He said respectfully, "Old Dr. Chun, what brings you here?" "I just happened to be passing by Song County and had some business, so I came in to take a look. Is your family master home?" Old Dr. Chun asked. Yes, the family master and Mrs. Wei are both at home. Please come in quickly, old Dr. Chun." The doorman respectfully ushered old Dr. Chun into the mansion, while another doorman had already run inside to report. Thus, only after a little more than 10 breaths, as old Dr. Chun had just entered the Wei family's front courtyard, he saw Wei Xinghe come out from the back courtyard with a surprised look on his face. "Old Dr. Chun, what brings you to visit us?" Old Dr. Chun said with a chuckle, "I've been out on a charity medical tour recently, and these past few days I happened to be in some nearby villages, so I just came by to visit." "That's so." Old Dr. Chun truly embodies medical benevolence. Upon hearing this, Wei Xinghe felt even more respect for old Dr. Chun. He knew well that old Dr. Chen's cultivation was unfathomable, having reached a profound realm that even he, being in the innate realm, found difficult to estimate. Yet such an extraordinary expert was still willing to humble himself to provide free medical care to ordinary villagers in the countryside. Such kindness was indeed commendable. "It's merely fulfilling the duty of a doctor," old Dr. Chun said. "By the way, Wei family master, I have come here also to ask for your help with something." "Please speak, old Dr. Chun," Wei Xinghe quickly said. "These past few days as I administered medical care in the nearby villages, today I encountered several rather difficult symptoms that needed urgent treatment. Unfortunately, I've almost run out of medicinal materials during these days. Now, if I go to gather herbs, I'm afraid it might be too late. So I thought to come here and buy some," old Dr. Chun explained. "Oh, old Dr. Chun, you are too modest. It's just some medicinal materials, no need to be so courteous. Just tell us what materials you need, and I'll immediately have someone fetch them," Wei Xinghe immediately said. "I've written down the items on this list. See if you can gather them all." Old Dr. Chun took out a prescription from his sleeve. Wei Xinghe took it, glanced over it quickly, and immediately handed it to housekeeper Wei. "Ahai! Go to the storeroom right away and get these medicinal materials for old Dr. Chun." Housekeeper Wei did not dare to delay and immediately took the list and went. "Old Dr. Chun, is young Master Lu not with you?" He lacked company this time. Old Dr. Chun replied, "Ah Ching has other matters to attend to, so he didn't come out with me this time," old Dr. Chun said. "Then perhaps old Dr. Chun hasn't had dinner yet? Would you like to join us?" "That would be good." Old Dr. Chun did not decline the invitation. These past few days, he had been busy with the charity medical tour and had been eating only simple meals. Today, he had eaten only a bit of food in the morning. Wei Xinghe immediately had the kitchen prepare a feast. Soon, Mrs. Wei also received the news and came out from the back courtyard. After seeing old Dr. Chun, there was another round of warm greetings. While old Dr. Chun was waiting for dinner, the sky outside had completely darkened. Outside the county, several figures quietly appeared. Chapter 526. Domain Suppression, Power of the Flying Sword. Be alert, though Tsang County is small, intelligence indicates that the Wei family has 2 innate realm experts stationed there. So, this operation must be quick. Capture the person and then immediately retreat, and do not create any complications. Elder Yu instructed. Yes. The other figures responded in a deep voice. Elder Yu, since you mentioned that this person has a deep connection with the Wei family, what if he is also in this town? At this, the others hesitated. Indeed, if that person was also there and they went in like this, wouldn't they be exposing themselves? Thinking of the information they had recently uncovered, everyone felt some hesitation. Although they were confident, they also knew that, in the presence of that person, they probably wouldn't measure up. Don't worry. The spiritual energy here is sparse. With his cultivation realm, it can barely satisfy his cultivation needs, so he certainly won't be in seclusion here. Elder Yu was very certain. With that person's strength, if he were cultivating in the town, the surrounding nature's spiritual energy would definitely not be as calm and undisturbed as it was now. Hearing Elder Yu say this, the others were relieved and began to take action. Although the walls of the county town were high, they clearly couldn't stop these mysterious experts. Even when scaling the wall, these figures didn't reveal any traces of their presence. Like lifeless shadows, they quickly infiltrated towards Wei Mansion without alarming anyone. Elder Chen, come, try this dish. It's a new recipe devised from instructions left by young Master Lu, by the chefs in the kitchen. Have a taste and see if it's as delicious as when young Master Lu makes it. Inside Wei Mansion, Mrs. Wei warmly presented a freshly served dish to the elder doctor. Really, you shouldn't have gone through so much trouble. As an old man, I'm just happy to fill my stomach. The elder doctor replied politely. Just as Mrs. Wei was about to serve the elder doctor some food, suddenly, the expression on the elder doctor's face changed. Immediately after, several strange figures abruptly appeared at the entrance of the hall and lunged at Mrs. Wei. Lady! Wei Xinghe, alarmed, his aura burst forth, ready to shield his wife. You overestimate yourselves. However, just as his form had begun to move, the leading strange figure suddenly let out a cold snort, his arm elongating and fiercely reaching forward. With this claw strike, Wei Xinghe instantly felt as if everything before him was dominated by that hand. No matter how he tried to dodge, he could not escape the grasp of the palm. Feeling the formidable aura and the immense pressure from his opponent, terror appeared in Wei Xinghe's eyes. The adversary was far too strong. With his initial innate realm cultivation, he couldn't even withstand a single move. Whoosh! Just when Wei Xinghe felt despair, an unusual fluctuation emerged from the elder doctor, quickly emanating from him and spreading across the entire hall. Simultaneously, Elder Yu and the others immediately sensed an overwhelming aura, suppressing them. It not only halted the hand grabbing at Wei Xinghe, but also froze the figures that were lunging at Mrs. Wei in place. A domain? How is that possible? Sensing the overwhelming force pressing down on him, Elder Yu's eyes revealed a look of disbelief. Without hesitation, no longer daring to hold back, his full aura erupted, seeking to break the constraints of the domain placed upon him. Boom! However, as Elder Yu burst out with all his strength, he was horrified to find he couldn't completely break free from the elder doctor's domain's suppression. Although he regained control of his body, he was still like sinking in a mire, and his movement techniques became much slower. Even Elder Yu was in such a state, let alone the others. The other figures who accompanied Elder Yu were nearly completely suppressed in place, unable to move. If Lu Qing were here, he would undoubtedly be amazed to find his master's control and utilization of the domain had improved yet again. Seizing the moment as the adversaries were temporarily suppressed, the elder doctor pushed Mrs. Wei toward Wei Xinghe. Then, facing the shocked gazes from Elder Yu and others, he asked in a deep voice, "Who are you? And why do you attack Wei family master and his family?" Meanwhile, frowning slightly, from Elder Yu and his companions, he sensed a familiar feeling. The aura from these men seemed identical to the Wujin building assassins who had tried to kill them in the Holy City. Unfortunately, Elder Yu had no interest in answering the Elder Doctor's question. Realizing that the old man before him was a formidable expert beyond his imagination, he immediately made a decision. A trace of his mind activated an item in his possession, and the next moment, a powerful force burst from his body, instantly breaking the Elder Doctor's domain's suppression. Retreat quickly. After breaking the Elder Doctor's domain, Elder Yu had no intention of sticking around. With a loud shout, he swiftly shot towards the outside. The rest of the figures also dared not hesitate and rapidly used their movement techniques to escape. The Elder Doctor had already sensed something the moment Elder Yu activated the treasure. However, the ability of the treasure was somewhat beyond his expectation, easily breaking his domain control. Of course, this was also because he was concerned about being in Wei Mansion and protecting the servants in the hall. The Elder Doctor had not fully exerted the power of his domain. Otherwise, if he had exerted his full strength, he might have leveled the entire Wei Mansion. Chapter 527. Just as Elder Yu and others were about to escape from Wei Mansion, the Elder Doctor acted without hesitation. With a single thought, a sharp streak of light suddenly flew out from his body, speeding towards its target. In just an instant, it had already reached behind one of the figures, entering through the back and piercing out through the chest. The figure, pierced by the light, stiffened instantly. Its body, which had already leapt into the air, lost all strength and fell downward. And that sharp streak of light, after leaving one person behind, did not pause but continued towards the next figure. Flying sword. Elder Yu, who had been closely monitoring the situation behind him, widened his eyes in shock when he recognized the true nature of that light. For he recognized it as the flying sword spell, a technique possessed only by cultivators from ancient legends. Could this unassuming old man not only possess a domain but also be a legendary cultivator skilled in the flying sword technique? At this, Elder Yu felt his heart and spirit shudder. Daring not to delay, he pushed his aura to its limit, and without any reservation, channeled divine soul power from the energy center between his brows into the exotic treasure he was holding. With this explosive action, a black halo emerged from Elder Yu, covering his entire body. In the next moment, Elder Yu's speed suddenly increased manifold, dashing forward, crossing over the wall, and disappearing from sight. "No, Elder! Save us!" The other figures, already panicked by the instant slaying of their companion, became utterly despairing as they saw Elder Yu abandon them and escape by activating the power of the exotic treasure. But regardless of their panic, the Elder Doctor's attack did not stop. The streak of light continued to shuttle without respite, launching towards the remaining few figures. Those few strange figures, seeing no hope of escape and wishing to fight to the death, but facing the Elder Doctor, who had comprehended the sword energy domain with an immensely profound level of swordsmanship, along with the flying sword technique which inherently contained the mysterious sword Dao technique. Despite their desire to resist desperately, they could not withstand a single blow in the face of the extreme speed of the flying sword and the Elder Doctor's exquisite swordsmanship. One by one, they were pierced through the chest and fell to the ground. Once the Elder Doctor confirmed that all the strange figures had no power to resist, he circulated his thoughts and retracted the flying sword. As for Wei Xinghe and Mrs. Wei, they had been dumbfounded by the scene. It was only when the Elder Doctor had returned the flying sword to its sheath that Wei Xinghe came back to his senses. "Many thanks to Elder Chun for saving my wife and me once again," Wei Xinghe said with respect and immense gratitude. The burst of aura from those people just now had been much stronger than his. He could hardly imagine what the outcome would have been for him and his wife if the Elder Doctor had not been present today. "There's no need for thanks. These people have a strange origin, and this time it might be my fault that you are involved." The Elder Doctor sighed. From the auras that burst forth as those people resisted the flying sword, he had fully confirmed that they were from the same faction as the assassins from Wujin Building who had attempted to assassinate them before. A thought crossed Wei Xinghe's mind. "Elder Chun, do you know the identity of these assassins?" I can't be 100% certain. Let's ask them first. The elder doctor walked toward the courtyard, heading towards the few who had fallen to the ground. Wei Xinghe was momentarily stunned but quickly followed. Once in the courtyard, he then realized that those who had been knocked down by the elder doctor's miraculous methods still had breath in them and had not completely died. Of course, although they weren't dead, their injuries were not light. They had been struck by the powerful sword qi of the elder doctor, which had destroyed much of their vitality and sealed their acupuncture points. Even the thought of moving was difficult. Seeing the elder doctor coming out, fear showed in the eyes of the few lying on the ground. When they first entered the Wei mansion, they hadn't sensed any threat from this old man. Yet they could not have anticipated that he would be such a terrifying presence. Speak! Where are you from? Are you from Wujin Building? And why did you attack the Wei family master and others? The elder doctor looked directly at the weakened figures and asked straightforwardly. The people lying on the ground suddenly widened their eyes a bit more. They had not expected that the old man before them could instantly see through their identities and origins. Those with quick wits immediately made some connections. Glaring at the elder doctor, they asked, "Are you the master of that young man who slew Xianming and others in the holy city?" Upon hearing this, the others also came to their senses, recalling the information they had gathered before. Indeed, possessing a domain and having an aged appearance, this was precisely the information about the master in the reports about this pair of master and apprentice. But they had not expected that, besides the domain, this person also understood the terrifying art of the flying sword. Thinking back to the strange flying sword from just before, the people on the ground couldn't help but shiver. That flying sword was too terrifying, having far surpassed the scope of martial arts, not something that they, who were of the innate realm, could resist at all. So it seems, are you truly the assassins from Wujin Building? Seeing their reactions, the elder doctor understood as well. At that moment, the elder doctor couldn't help feeling a bit scared. He had learned from the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master that the assassins from Wujin Building acted with no scruples, unselectively and without any sense of morality. This time their visit to Wei Mansion was evidently because they had discovered something, intending to capture the Wei family master and Mrs. Wei for some unspeakable deeds. Had he not happened to be there, once Wei Xinghe and his wife were taken away, no one would know what events might unfold afterward. Esteemed elder, we bear no ill intentions on this trip. We were merely entrusted by someone to invite the Wei family master and Mrs. Wei for a visit. We earnestly implore the elder to spare our young lives, and we are willing to offer a generous reward to show our gratitude for your kindness. Among the several people on the ground, one of them remembered certain details about the elder doctor from the report. With a flicker in their eyes, they suddenly started to plead with him in a pained voice. Meanwhile, the others also began to beg for mercy. Yes, esteemed elder, we beseech you to show mercy and spare us this time. Should you spare us this time, we will certainly reform and no longer commit any deeds that go against conscience and morality. We implore the elder for mercy. For mercy. Watching the several people before him crying and begging for their lives in desperation, even knowing they were assassins from Wujin Building, the elder doctor still couldn't help but soften his heart. He was, by nature, not inclined to kill wantonly. Otherwise, he would not have shown mercy earlier and spared their lives. Now that they were unarmed and powerless to resist, he felt even less able to carry it out. However, the elder doctor also knew that the assassins from Wujin Building were ruthless and evil to the extreme. The suffering and begging might well be a disguise. Should he soften his heart now and let them go, he might be aiding the wicked. After pondering for a moment, the elder doctor suddenly said, "Wei family master, I remember you have trained hawks in your mansion, capable of flying eagle communication?" "Yes, Elder Chun. Who would you like to send a message to?" Wei Xinghe replied quickly. He, hearing the elder doctor's conversation with these people, also realized that these were assassins sent by Wujin Building. Wei Xinghe didn't know much about Wujin Building. Their Wei family did not have any records of this sect. However, he gained some knowledge from his youngest son's tales of his journey to Central State, learning that it was a terrifying sect of assassins that had disappeared over 1,000 years ago. Now it seemed to have some connection with one of the 4 great secret places, Suspended Mountain. Knowing these people were assassins from Wujin Building, Wei Xinghe immediately sensed the gravity of the situation. I want to ask you to send a message to Qing for me, informing him of what has happened here and see if he could come over. At a loss on how to deal with these assassins from Wujin Building, the elder doctor could only seek help from Lu Qing. All right, I'll send a message to young Master Lu right away, and it just so happens that the old ancestor is also in the other courtyard, so I'll have him come back as well. Wei Xinghe immediately took action. It wasn't long before a hawk soared into the sky from Wei Mansion, circled a few times, and then flew off in the direction of Jili Village. Chapter 528. Extreme Speed. Interrogation. Half Mountain's small courtyard. Lu Qing looked at the rice seeds before him, full of the essence of vitality. His face expressed satisfaction. In the morning, he had cast the Spirit Awakening technique, attempting to enlighten a batch of rice seeds. Now the situation looked quite favorable, with only half a day having passed. The rice seeds were already showing signs of sprouting. By tomorrow, they should be able to sprout new shoots. Then he would inspect them, and if the transformation into spirit seeds was successful, he would start preparing to enlighten the remaining rice seeds. Just as Lu Qing was pondering whether he should also enlighten the wheat seeds at that time, a ripple of array energy swept over his heart. Why does Senior Wei seem so rushed? Lu Qing's heart stirred, and he turned to leave the quiet room. As soon as he walked into the courtyard, he saw Wei Shanhai looking somewhat anxious as he entered from outside. Young Master Lu. Senior Wei, what has happened? Lu Qing asked. Just now, I received a message from home saying that an assassin from Wujin Building has appeared in the county, intending to make a move against Xinghe and the others. An assassin from Wujin Building? Lu Qing exclaimed in surprise. Yes, fortunately Dr. Chun happened to be in the mansion, which is how those assassins from Wujin Building were subdued. Now they have sent a message asking for your opinion on how to deal with those assassins. My mentor is also in the county? Lu Qing was even more surprised. Wasn't his mentor conducting free clinics in nearby villages? Why had he gone to the county? Yes, luckily Dr. Chun was visiting the mansion. Otherwise Xinghe and the others would likely not have escaped unharmed. The message said that the assassins from Wujin Building were very strong. Xinghe was completely overpowered at the first encounter and was unable to resist, Wei Shanhai said, somewhat fearfully. From what Senior suggests, those assassins are still alive? Yes, Dr. Chun only severely wounded them, not killing them, which is why he sent the message to ask for your opinion. Lu Qing nodded, not surprised. With his mentor's character, indeed, he would not easily resort to killing without clarifying the situation. That's good. I'll make a trip to the county then. Senior Wei, please, while I'm away, could you help keep an eye on little Yen and the others? After speaking, Lu Qing formed his spell, and Wei Shanhai immediately felt an invisible aura enveloping the entire mountain. The aura did not seem strong but inexplicably gave him a sense of palpitations. I have activated the array on the mountain. Even an innate realm expert will find it difficult to infiltrate quietly. Senior just needs to preside over the courtyard. All right, you go ahead without worry. Wei Shanhai nodded earnestly. Although he was somewhat worried about the situation at the mansion, he also knew how much Lu Qing valued little Yen. If there were no one to oversee Jili Village, he probably would not feel at ease going to the county. Then I'll go now. After instructing little Li inwardly, yellow and green glimmers of light flashed on Lu Qing's body. In the next moment, his figure had turned into a streak of light, darting down the mountain. Such extreme speed immediately stunned Wei Shanhai, because he felt that Lu Qing's speed was more than 10 times faster than his. This extreme speed was completely beyond his imagination. Young master, the art of talisman you use is truly exquisite, praised Yen in his mind as Lu Qing hastened towards the county. Looking at Lu Qing's nimble and swift figure, Yen was truly astonished. By all accounts, body cultivation practitioners are not supposed to be skilled in spellcasting. But this rule seemed to be defied in Lu Qing's case. Whether it's the spirit awakening technique or the current talisman art, Lu Qing performed them all with ease, even more exquisitely than typical magic cultivation practitioners, completely breaking the convention that body cultivators are not adept at spellcasting. You overpraise me, Senior. I've merely been lucky enough to have studied a bit of the heritage left behind by the Divine Talisman sect, gaining some insights into the art of talismans. Lu Qing modestly replied. What he was now employing were earth and wind elemental spirit talismans. The earth elemental one to lighten his own weight, the wind elemental to make himself more agile. Combined, his speed naturally became extremely fast. The heritage of the Divine Talisman sect is indeed wondrous, Yen praised sincerely. Even during the ancient immortal cultivation era, the Divine Talisman sect was a very mysterious sect. Unexpectedly, its heritage allowed a body cultivator to cast spells at will. In this manner, Lu Qing was akin to those who cultivated both body and magic, truly without a weak point. With the enhancement of the spirit talisman, Lu Qing's speed could rival that of flying birds. In no time, he had already seen the county bathed in moonlight ahead. The city gates were closed at this hour, but naturally, this could not deter Lu Qing. Upon reaching the city wall, he lightly stepped, and his extraordinarily light body had already soared up to the top of the wall. Then, with a flip, he entered the city effortlessly without alarming anyone. At this time, the county was actually plunged into a state of unrest. Although the skirmish between the Elder Doctor and the assassins from Wujin Building wasn't long, the aura released by the assassins was still perceived outside. The immense pressure of an innate realm's aura, especially from a group, was truly terrifying. It almost made the entire county feel as though the end of days had come. Thus, although the assassins from Wujin Building were suppressed by the Elder Doctor, the people inside the city were still terrified. Of course, despite the fear, there was no one bold enough to go outside and check what had happened. A battle of the innate realm was not to be taken lightly. If they were to be inadvertently involved and become collateral damage, they would not even have the chance to regret it. As Lu Qing headed towards the Wei mansion, he could sense waves of fear emanating from the homes around him, causing his brow to furrow. Chapter 529. However, he didn't do anything dramatic. His figure flitted swiftly, and he quickly entered the Wei mansion. Under the guidance of divine soul sensing, Lu Qing directly made his way to the yard where the Elder Doctor resided. Master! Ah Qing! The Elder Doctor turned around. Young Master Lu! Wei Xinghe shuddered, surprise flashing in his eyes. How long had it been since he dispatched the Flying Eagle communication, and Lu Qing had already arrived at the county. Wei family master. Lu Qing didn't mind Wei Xinghe's surprise. After nodding to him, he turned his attention to the several figures in black lying on the ground. So these are the assassins from Wujin Building? I can't be completely sure, but their aura is identical to that of the assassins from Wujin Building who tried to assassinate us in Holy City. Right, there was one more formidable assassin. He seems to carry an exotic treasure on him, and I failed to capture him. I don't know if he's still hiding somewhere in the city, the Elder Doctor replied. One got away? Upon hearing this, Lu Qing immediately closed his eyes, sensing the situation within the city. The people lying on the ground also observed Lu Qing intently. From the earlier conversation between the Elder Doctor and Wei Xinghe, they knew that this person before them must be their most important target of this mission. He was the one who had recently stirred up endless troubles in the Central State Holy City. Even with mental preparation, the assassins from Wujin Building were still shaken when they saw Lu Qing's face. They couldn't help it. Lu Qing looked far too young. It was hard for them to imagine that this young man before them was the terrifying presence that even Holy Mountain feared. I can't find that person's trace, Lu Qing said after a moment, opening his eyes. With his current divine soul power almost on par with the Foundation establishment stage, it would be nearly impossible for an innate realm cultivator to escape his divine soul sensing. Unless it was someone like his master who had a profound understanding of domains, or someone who possessed a magical treasure specifically designed to hide their presence. The master mentioned that the person carried an exotic treasure, so Lu Qing couldn't be certain whether the individual was still hiding in the city. However, that wasn't important. Since the man had run away, disregarding even his comrades, Lu Qing supposed the man's strength wouldn't be too formidable. Lu Qing's gaze fell once again on the figures lying on the ground. Information quickly surfaced, and his eyes showed a clear understanding. Meanwhile, a bone-chilling sensation arose in the assassins' hearts. Somehow, they felt as if Lu Qing's eyes contained a kind of magic, as if all their secrets had nowhere to hide under his gaze. Master, these people are indeed assassins from Wujin Building. The elder doctor nodded, knowing that Lu Qing possessed some mysterious method of divination that could easily trace the origins of whatever he saw. If he stated these men were the assassins from Wujin Building, it was undoubtedly the truth. Then Qing, according to you, how should these people be dealt with? There's no hurry. Let a disciple first inquire about some matters from them. Lu Qing turned to the men on the ground. Do you wish to live or die? The assassins were stunned. Before they could respond, Lu Qing continued, if you wish to die, I can send you on your way right now. If you want to live, then answer my questions honestly. If I'm satisfied with your answers, I might spare your life. The assassins exchanged glances. After a few moments of silence, one of them said, even ants cherish their lives. Naturally, we want to live. What would young master like to inquire about? Where is the entrance to the secret realm of Suspended Mountain? The question stupefied all the assassins. They assumed Lu Qing would ask about their origins or their purpose for the assassination attempt. They never imagined he would directly ask for the location of the entrance to the secret realm of Suspended Mountain. After being taken aback, the one responsible for replying forced a smile. Young master must be joking. We are mere assassins. How could we be connected to the likes of Suspended Mountain, let alone know the whereabouts of their secret realm? Which assassination organization can afford such a grand gesture, sending out 5 innate realm assassins at once? Lu Qing said indifferently, you don't need to pretend in front of me. I'm fully aware of your origins. Years ago, Wujin Building was eradicated and its assassins were executed by the combined forces of the major sects. It was only because someone from Suspended Mountain took you away and hid you in a secret realm that you, a group of rats from the gutter, managed to cling to life and regain your strength. Tell me, where exactly is the entrance to the secret realm of Suspended Mountain? Several assassins stared blankly at Lu Qing. They had not expected that Lu Qing not only knew their identities and origins, but even the secrets that had been hidden for over 1,000 years were known to him in such detail. The events of that year were kept from not only the major sects but also Holy Mountain and the other great secret lands. But now Lu Qing could recount them flawlessly, as if he had witnessed them firsthand. You should know, even they had only learned of these matters through stories passed down within their clan. It seems that without a lesson, you really won't take my words seriously, Lu Qing said as he shook his head at the few assassins' stupefied expressions. With a flick of his finger, he released a strand of strong energy. With only the sound of a slight sizzle, the strong energy pierced the brow of one assassin. That body, refined through numerous trials and pain, with its innate body, offered no resistance to Lu Qing's energy, and was as if made of tofu. Once the brow chakra was destroyed, there was no chance for the assassin to survive. His eyes suddenly widened, his body stiffened, and the vital force and divine soul aura within him gradually dissipated. Lang Xin. Seeing the assassin dead, the others couldn't help but cry out in grief. I'll count to 3. If no one answers my question, one of you will meet his fate. Lu Qing said coldly. We truly do not know, sir. Even if you threaten us with our lives, it will be to no avail. One of the assassins shouted. 1. Lu Qing said indifferently. Do you really intend to be so ruthless and merciless? 2. There's no such thing. How could we possibly tell you? 3. When Lu Qing counted to 3, without the slightest hesitation, He flicked another strand of strong energy at another assassin's forehead. As expected, this assassin's brow was also penetrated by the energy, and he died on the spot.
Lengi.
Seeing yet another comrade dead, the remaining 2 assassins were furious, their eyes filled with hatred and venom as they looked at Lu Qing. Kid, I didn't expect you to be so young and yet have such a cruel heart. You'd be more fitting for the way of the assassin than us. I see you had no intention of letting us go from the start. You just wanted any excuse to take our lives. There's no need to put on an act in front of me. Facing the righteous indignation of the 2 assassins, Lu Qing remained unperturbed. Before you came here, you'd already killed quite a few people, hadn't you? Denial is pointless. The aura of sin on your bodies has already told me very clearly. The 2 assassins' faces changed at this. Lu Qing continued, the assassins of Wujin Building have always been known for their cold-heartedness, cunning, and lack of boundaries. Killing you all would be considered a meritorious act for the common good. Now I'm being exceptionally merciful by giving you a chance to live. If you fail to seize it, you can't blame me anymore. Moreover, I've changed my mind now. Only one of you 2 can live. Whoever can tell me the answer before I finish counting to 3 will get the chance to live. As for the other, you'll have to go join your comrades below. In the wavering expressions of the 2 assassins, Lu Qing began to count again. 1. This time, the reactions of the 2 assassins were different. One hesitated, but the other assassin shouted, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. The hesitating assassin's eyes widened in an instant. He was about to say something, but it was already too late. Before he could speak, the energy Lu Qing had flicked landed on his brow. The very next instant, the assassin's body stiffened, and his gaze began to fade. Chapter 530 Yen Songhai Shock. Leaving the city. Seeing Lu Qing act so decisively, simply executing the accomplice assassin, the remaining killer couldn't help but swallow hard. He felt a sense of relief, thankful that he had spoken up earlier. Otherwise, it would have been him lying dead. At the same time, he was extraordinarily fearful of Lu Qing in his heart. This young-looking individual, but his heart was truly ruthless. He had successively killed several innate realm experts without even blinking an eye. How did he seem even more ruthless and unpredictable than them? No wonder he could turn the holy city upside down. Fine, you may speak now. After Lu Qing killed another assassin, he spoke indifferently. I can tell only one person, and you must promise that you will absolutely never reveal it was me who told you, the last assassin said. Agreed. Lu Qing nodded. The assassin began to inform Lu Qing of the location using the transmission skill. After listening, Lu Qing raised an eyebrow. Are you sure you're not deceiving me? This is something that can be easily verified. How would I dare to deceive young Master Lu? The assassin said with a bitter smile. But young Master Lu, even if you know the location of the secret realm's entrance, it's useless. The array of the secret realm is controlled by Suspended Mountain. Only they can open the secret realm. Even the likes of us must wait until the appointed time and after obtaining their permission to enter and exit the secret realm. That's not for you to worry about. Lu Qing's divine soul sensing was constantly monitoring the assassin's emotional fluctuations. Knowing that he was most likely not lying, he turned and left. Wei family master. This person is now in your hands to deal with. All right. Wei Xinghe understood and walked towards the assassin. The assassin panicked, instantly shouting, You lied to me. You said you would let me go. However, Wei Xinghe did not give him a chance to nag. With a wave of his hand, a burst of sword chi flew out, instantly ending the assassin's life. Lu Qing didn't even turn his head. From the moment he extracted information from these people, he had never intended to actually spare their lives. The information showed that before coming to Tsang County, these men had already killed many. Each of these Wujin Building assassins were utterly unscrupulous scum. To truly let one go would be the real sin. Ah Qing, what do you plan to do next? The elder doctor made no comment on Lu Qing's actions. Although he himself disliked killing, He didn't feel that Lu Qing's actions were wrong. There's nothing I can do. Master, Suspended Mountain's foundation is not something we can compare with. My inquiry about the location of their secret realm was just to prepare for emergencies. I never intended to trouble them right now. Lu Qing shook his head. That's for the best. Hearing this, the elder doctor sighed in relief. He had been somewhat worried that Lu Qing would impulsively go looking for trouble with Suspended Mountain. Master, have you finished your charity medical work? Not yet. There are a few more villages to go. The reason I came to the city this time was that I ran out of medicines, and I wanted to ask the Wei family master for some. However, I didn't expect to encounter these assassins just as they came. Did you gain anything from this charity work? Lu Qing knew that besides offering medical help on his trip, his master wanted to understand more about the effects of the changes in the world on ordinary people. Indeed, there is something. The elder doctor's expression turned somewhat serious. But let's discuss this after I've visited the remaining villages and returned. Good. I have finished setting up the arrays in the village these past 2 days, and I have also carved out the spirit field. When you return, Master, we should be able to start preparing to cultivate better medicinal herbs. Excellent. The elder doctor's face lit up with joy. After the master and disciple exchanged a few more words, Lu Qing turned around. He addressed Wei Xinghe, Wei family master. Since the assassins from Wujin building have found Song County, it's no longer safe here. Why not have you and Mrs. Wei stay at the other residence for a while, so we can look out for each other? Wei Xinghe pondered. Remembering the assassin who had escaped, he knew that staying in the mansion was indeed unsafe. So he nodded. That would be good. Thank you, young Master Lu. Although Lu Qing's words were polite, Wei Xinghe was very aware of his place. What qualifications did he have with his cultivation level to look after someone else? Plainly put, it was Lu Qing's polite way of expressing concern for their safety. Immediately, Wei Xinghe had the people in the mansion dispose of the corpses of the Wujin building assassins. At the same time, he also began to pack, preparing to head to Jili village with Lu Qing. While Wei Mansion was getting busy, the door guard suddenly rushed in. Family head. The city lord requests to see you. The city lord has come? Wei Xinghe was startled and instinctively looked towards Lu Qing. Lu Qing pondered for a moment, remembering the panic he had sensed on his way into the city. He nodded. Since the city lord has come to visit, let's meet him. Wei Xinghe said, quickly invite the city lord in. The door guard hurried out, and before long, the city lord Yen Songhai, with several guards, entered under the guidance of the door guard. As soon as he entered the hall, Yen Songhai caught sight of Lu Qing sitting there, and his heart suddenly shook. When did this one enter the city? He hadn't received any news at all. Could it be that the terrifying battle aura from earlier related to this person? So young Master Lu is also here. Greetings to young Master Lu. Yen Songhai respectfully bowed to Lu Qing. This caused his several bodyguards to be incredibly surprised, each of them looking at Lu Qing with doubt and astonishment. Chapter 531. Some didn't understand why their own lord would show such a grand gesture to this young man. It turns out to be the city lord. You must be here because of the aura that erupted from the residence earlier, right? Lu Qing nodded to signal an acknowledgement and then directly got to the point. That's right. Yen Songhai's expression was still one of respect. Previously, I felt that here at the Wei Mansion, there seemed to have been an innate level battle. So, I came to see what exactly had happened. Lu Qing smiled and said, it was just a few petty criminals who invaded, and they have already been dealt with by us. The city lord need not worry, and you can also inform the citizens in the city that the crisis has been resolved, so they do not need to panic. Yen Songhai. Naturally, he didn't believe Lu Qing's words. What petty criminals could possibly emit the aura of the innate realm? Moreover, several of them came all at once. Such terrifying combat power, let alone the Wei family, even the state mansion might not be able to withstand it. But he also knew that since Lu Qing had said so, he clearly did not wish for him to continue asking. He could only respectfully say, I see. It seems that I was being superfluous. It's not necessarily so. I, Wei Xinghe, thank the city lord for your concern. Wei Xinghe said politely, knowing that an innate level battle had occurred here and still willing to come over to investigate. No matter what Yan Songhai's intentions were, Wei Xinghe still needed to express his gratitude. City lord, in a moment, I and the Wei family head and others will need to leave the city. May I trouble the city lord to order the city gates to be open so that we may conveniently depart. At this time, Lu Qing said, It is so late, young Master Lu, you still need to leave the city? Yan Songhai's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Indeed, city lord, you must also have guessed. The assassins just now were targeting the Wei family. If my wife and I remain in the city, I am afraid there will be more assassins to deal with. Thus, for the sake of the city's citizens, it would be better for us to temporarily leave for some time. Yan Songhai. He really wanted to ask what on earth the Wei family had done to attract so many innate realm experts to attack them. And from the sound of it, there might be more powerful figures coming in the future. Could it be that the Wei family had provoked some frighteningly formidable power? In the end, however, Yan Songhai suppressed the urge to ask and did not voice the question. Because he knew that there were some things, once heard, might lead to trouble that could never be shaken off. This was a lesson he had learned from his past experiences. So, he simply nodded and said, This is simple. I will personally escort you out of the city. Then we will have to trouble the city lord. The servants of the Wei mansion were very efficient, and it wasn't long before they had prepared 2 carriages. Lu Qing and the others rode in one, and the other was loaded with supplies, escorted by a small team of Silver Moon guards. As for the elder doctor, he had yet to show his face. He still needed to attend to a few more villagers with his free clinic tomorrow and would not return to Jili village with Lu Qing and the others. Yan Songhai, accompanied by a few personal guards, went to the city gate. With the city lord himself present, the city guards responsible for guarding the gate naturally did not dare not to open it. Thus, Lu Qing and the others smoothly left the city and slowly headed in the direction of Jili village. Standing at the city gate, watching the caravan gradually disappear into the darkness, Yan Songhai's expression grew solemn. Tonight's events had given him a premonition of an imminent storm. A mere Wei family, how could they have attracted so many innate realm experts to assassinate them? What exactly was the reason? More importantly, those innate realm assassins had only erupted for over 10 breaths of time and then were completely neutralized. Earlier at the Wei mansion, he had not seen any signs of fierce fighting. Were those invading innate realm assassins killed, or did they flee? If they were killed, then this young Master Lu's strength was perhaps far too frightening. Perhaps it was time for him to make a decision that he had been contemplating for a long time. Of Yan Songhai's thoughts, Lu Qing was unaware. On the way back, he remained vigilant against the possibility that the escaped assassin from the Wujin building might suddenly appear, catching them off guard. Fortunately, it turned out that this was just his overthinking. Until he returned to Jili village, Lu Qing had not encountered any trace of the last assassin. Father, mother, how come you're here? Upon arriving at the separate courtyard, Wei Zian ran out in surprise upon seeing Mr. and Mrs. Wei. I missed you, so I decided to come and see you. Mrs. Wei made up an excuse so as not to worry her youngest son. However, Wei Zian was no longer the naive young man he once was. He grew suspicious upon hearing his mother's reasoning. Is that so? But even if you miss me, there's no need to rush over in the middle of the night. Moreover, didn't I just leave the house a few days ago? Little did he know, his mother had been missing him so much. And why did Lu Qing, the young doctor, also get down from the carriage? Wasn't he always at the half-mountain small courtyard? He had even seen him that morning. Mrs. Wei was at a loss for words. Wei Zian grew more suspicious. Mother, did something happen at home? Lu Qing found the situation rather amusing. Zian, here's what happened. Tonight, assassins from Wujin building came to your Wei mansion, attempting to abduct Mrs. Wei and others, he said directly. Wujin building assassins? Wei Zian was taken aback, recalling the encounter they had in the holy city. Assassins from Wujin Building were not ordinary killers. They were all terrifying experts at the innate realm level. Such formidable people actually wanted to harm his parents? Ma Gu, who was following behind, also wore a look of shock upon hearing the news. Luckily, Master was a guest in your mansion, or who knows what might have happened. Indeed, thanks to Elder Chen's help, your mother and I were able to escape unscathed, Wei Shanhai also said. Young Master Lu was afraid those assassins might come again, so he suggested that your mother and I come here to the separate courtyard to lie low for a while. Young Dr. Lu Qing, do the assassins from Wujin Building want to capture my parents because of what happened in the Holy City? Wei Zian asked. I'm afraid so. Lu Qing did not deny it. I've already interrogated them. Those assassins were sent from Suspended Mountain. It's those old monks indeed. Wei Zian spoke through clenched teeth. Those old monks are truly despicable and shameless, resorting to such lowly tactics. Mother, rest assured, it's very safe here in the separate courtyard. As long as young Dr. Lu Qing is here, those villains won't dare to come over. And I will protect you too, not letting those evildoers touch a single hair on your head. All right, then I will count on you, an heir, to protect me, Mrs. Wei said, her face showing a relieved smile as she saw her son's resoluteness. Having ensured everyone's safe escort, Lu Qing naturally did not need to linger any longer. After all, the separate courtyard was within the protective range of the array he had set up. The safety of Wei Shanhai and the others here was well guaranteed. So, after giving some instructions, advising Mrs. Wei to try not to leave the village area, and inquiring whether Hu Lao San and Hu Zheji father and daughter were adapting well to their new home, he returned to the half-mountain small courtyard. Just as he returned to the mountain, he saw the figure of Wei Shanhai sitting in the courtyard. Young Master Lu, how did it go? Are Xinghe and the others injured? Wei Shanhai eagerly asked upon seeing Lu Qing's return. Family Master Wei and the others are unharmed and have not been injured, and I have already brought them back to the village. You can go back to the separate courtyard and ask them for the details, Lu Qing said. You have brought them back. That's very good, Wei Shanhai expressed, relieved. In his heart, Jili Village was now much safer than inside the county, especially after witnessing Lu Qing set up the array and feeling the increasingly dense spiritual energy of nature in the village. He realized that, in this manner, the place would surely evolve into an unimaginable land of fortune and spirit. It was good for Wei Xinghe and the others to come here. Not only was their safety assured, but their future cultivation path would also be smoother. Chapter 532. Cultivating the Spirit Field, the Tragedy of Sword Pavilion. Ah Qing, is this the new spirit field you've opened up? In the half-mountain small courtyard, the elder doctor looked at the spirit field Lu Qing had opened up 2 days prior with a hint of amazement. The nearly 2-acre spirit field, rich in spiritual charm, had changed drastically compared to when he had left. Even the medicine field nearby had noticeably transformed. The medicinal herbs within it had grown significantly taller. In the past 2 days, the elder doctor had finally finished his voluntary medical services and just returned to the half-mountain small courtyard, immediately drawn to the newly opened spirit field behind the courtyard by Lu Qing. Yes, Master, you've returned just in time. I was planning to sow these spirit grain seeds today, Lu Qing said with a smile. Let's do it. I'll help you. The elder doctor was quite skilled in the matter of farming. He promptly rolled up his sleeves and trouser legs, ready to join Lu Qing in sowing the enlightened seeds. Little Yen, who was originally doing her homework in the courtyard, found the activity so amusing that she immediately ran out to help. Even little Li, also curious, used her claws to grab some seeds and started tossing them little by little into the field. Of course, always disliking water, she only played around on the ridges and was absolutely unwilling to go into the field. Lu Qing didn't mind the 2 playful little ones. After all, he had enlightened a good quantity of seeds this time, more than enough for planting the 2-acre spirit field. Even if they wasted some, there would still be plenty left. Besides, sowing wasn't exactly a skillful task. Even children could manage it well. 2 acres of spirit field wasn't much, and with the busy work of 3 people and 1 beast, it didn't take long to finish sowing all the seeds. Lu Qing then pinched a spell, and above the spirit field, clouds began to gather. After more than 10 breaths, raindrops infused with spiritual energy began to fall, sparsely at first, moisturizing the newly sown seeds. Master, after the spirit grain is sown, one must use the spirit rain technique to water it frequently. The cultivation of spiritual medicine requires the same. This spirit rain technique is also easy to learn. Should I inscribe these techniques of planting onto a jade scroll for you afterward? That would be good. I've been wanting to cultivate some medicinal herbs with better potency lately, and it would be fitting to study this spiritual medicine cultivation technique. The elder doctor did not decline but nodded in agreement. Master, during your recent free medical services, did you encounter any difficult and complicated diseases? Upon seeing his master's expression, Lu Qing knew there must have been something amiss. Correct. During my travels this time, I've noticed that the diseases afflicting the villagers outside are generally much harder to cure than before. Most patients have a buildup of malignant qi within their bodies, something unprecedented. And the common herbs we currently use have a hard time clearing this malignant qi, unless the dosage is increased, but all medicines have their toxins. If one is not careful with increasing the dosage, it can easily become unbearable for the patient. Hence, in this trip's free medical services, I almost always had to use acupuncture in aid of the medicinal potion, and sometimes even had to employ spiritual energy to cure the patients, the elder doctor said gravely, slowly recounting the experiences from his days of offering voluntary medical service. So, Master, you wanted to cultivate spiritual medicine to deal with this situation? Lu Qing understood clearly. The elder doctor nodded. Yes, even if we can't cultivate spiritual medicine, it would be excellent just to increase the potency of the herbs we currently use. Then, disciple will go back and immediately create the jade scroll for you. Lu Qing and the elder doctor once more checked the spirit field, confirming that there were no issues, then returned to the courtyard. With the seeds already sown, what came next was much simpler. Lu Qing only needed to water the fields frequently with the spirit rain technique, weed out the unwanted growth, and pay attention to pest prevention. If everything went well, in about 2 or 3 months, he should be able to harvest the first batch of spirit grain. In fact, the common practice for cultivating rice is to first raise seedlings. After all, sowing directly in the field often leads to uneven distribution. The growth becomes patchy here and thick there. Also, it may cause shallow rooting, making the plants susceptible to being knocked down by the wind. However, this was clearly not an issue for Lu Qing, as what he planted was not ordinary rice. Therefore, he skipped this step altogether. Back in the courtyard, Lu Qing immediately inscribed the Li Hua Sect's key points on the cultivation and planting of spiritual medicine onto a jade scroll and handed it to his master. Upon receiving the jade scroll, the elder doctor returned to the quiet room and began to study it intently. Lu Qing, having nothing else to do and after reminding little Yen not to run around, simply started to cultivate. Entering a state of meditation, Lu Qing saw the 5 elements gourd in the center of his dantian, swallowing and exhaling the spiritual power he had cultivated. With each cycle, his spiritual power became purer by a bit. It hadn't been many days, yet Lu Qing could feel that his spiritual power had become at least 10% purer than before. Don't underestimate this mere 10%. The progress of one's physical body in body cultivation is closely related to the purity of one's spiritual power. The purer the spiritual power, the stronger the physical body that is tempered. Now that Lu Qing's spiritual power was 10% purer, it meant his physical body could also become 10% stronger. Concentrating, Lu Qing guided the 5 elements spiritual power in his dantian and, following the technique of the 5 elements body refining technique, began to temper his own physical body. As the spiritual power continuously infused and tempered, his physical body also began to strengthen bit by bit. Yen had always been observing Lu Qing's cultivation. Feeling Lu Qing's gradually strengthening aura, it marveled. The 5 elements body refining technique was notorious for its difficult entry level and slow progress in the ancient immortal cultivation era. Yet, These two issues were completely non-existent for Lu Qing. It had been watching all these days. Chapter 533. Lu Qing was busy with countless matters every day, either concocting something or enlightening rice seeds, even having to run outside to rescue and receive people. The time he actually spent on cultivation, in fact, wasn't much at all. Yet, oddly enough, Lu Qing's cultivation level was steadily improving. According to Yan's calculations, at this rate, it wouldn't take long for Lu Qing to step into the Qi refinement middle stage. His rapid progression would be enough to make many prodigies from the ancient immortal cultivation era blush with shame. Not to mention that with Lu Qing's profound foundation, though merely in the Qi refinement middle stage, his true strength was feared to stand on par with even those in the foundation establishment stage. Truly, he was a devil who had invoked tribulation clouds as the heavens and earth first changed. The cultivation path was indeed completely beyond ordinary measure. Yan couldn't help feeling fortunate for his choice once again. With the rate of Lu Qing's cultivation progress, had it been adamant, by the time he entered the foundation establishment stage, it would likely have been the time for its complete refinement and dissipation. Deep in cultivation, Lu Qing was on a mountain more than 10 miles away from Jili village. A strange figure was hidden within a giant tree, looking at Jili village and shrouded in misty spiritual energy. Spiritual energy converges. This little mountain village is actually guarded by an array. It must be the hidden location for that person's private cultivation. Elder Yu stared in the direction of Jili village, with eyes betraying a wary expression. To be able to arrange such a protective array right after the revival of heaven and earth, the inheritance that person possessed must be extraordinarily remarkable. It might well be the core legacy left behind by a powerful ancient immortal sect. Elder Yu watched for a while, but in the end, didn't approach any closer. Instead, he silently noted Jili village's location before quietly withdrawing. Initially setting out, he had been quite confident, believing that, with their levels of cultivation, there were hardly any places in the world inaccessible to them. However, the display of the elder doctor's flying sword techniques that night had completely shattered his confidence. Had it not been for the treasure bestowed by the Tower Master, he might have ended the same as the others that night, perishing within Wei Mansion. Elder Yu knew the elder who made a move back then must be the master from the pair of master and disciple mentioned in the reports. If the master was so formidable, then the disciple, who was rumored to have turned the holy city upside down, must be far more terrifying. Therefore, Elder Yu didn't wish to take any more risks at all. Should he inch closer and get noticed by that person, their mission this time would be considered an utter failure. Anyway, now that he knew the location of that person's hidden cultivation spot, he could consider his mission complete. The rest was for the Tower Master and others to decide. Elder Yu gave one last glance in the direction of Jili village, then executed his movement technique and swiftly departed. The primary purpose of this excursion had been achieved. There were still a few days remaining until the secret realms agreed upon opening time. Rarely having the chance to venture out, he still had ample time to make additional arrangements for the lineage of Wujin building. Elder Yu left Song County to begin wandering in all directions, scouting the current situation of the world. Several days later, he arrived at another large province, Jizhou. That night, as Elder Yu hurried on his way, he suddenly felt a presence from ahead, and his body gave a violent shudder. Such a heavy sin energy. What happened up ahead? A look of horror crossed Elder Yu's eyes. He surveyed the terrain around him and realized that nearby should be the territory of a sect force known as Qingyun Sword Pavilion. After a few glances, the aura around Elder Yu abruptly retracted, becoming almost imperceptible, even to the extent that those in the innate realm would find it hard to detect. Then he stealthily advanced toward the source of the disturbance. As he continued forward, Elder Yu's shock grew. He felt that the sin energy from ahead was getting heavier, almost to the point of materializing. Just what kind of atrocity happened up front? For there to be such dreadful sin energy? Having progressed a little further, Elder Yu began to hesitate. The floating sin energy around was simply too immense. It reached a point where even he, an elder of Wujin building, trembled. One must understand that sin energy is not something that forms at the drop of a hat. If it were ordinary slaughter, even if dozens or hundreds died, it might not lead to the formation of sin energy. Usually, only those who have endured great torture, gone through immense pain before death, and died amidst boundless hatred can give rise to sin energy. Given the intensity of the sin energy in the surroundings, Elder, you couldn't begin to imagine just what kind of hell awaited up ahead. And who else could have committed such atrocity but a terrifying demon? Ah! As Elder, you hesitated, uncertain whether to leave. A piercingly tragic scream suddenly tore through the night sky. Hearing that inhuman wail, Elder, you came to a stop. He glanced around at the darkness of the night, then touched something in his embrace, and finally decided to stealthily investigate ahead. At worst, he would have to expend the power of the exotic treasure in his embrace one more time. He wanted to see what sort of dreadful demon had appeared in the outside world. Armed with the confidence provided by the exotic treasure within his embrace, Elder, you moved forward with even more cautious movement techniques, inching closer in silence. Eventually, guided by the incessant screaming, Elder, you came upon a mountain gate, which he quietly approached. As he looked down, his eyes suddenly narrowed. He saw that, in the martial arts arena beyond the mountain gate, torches were burning. Beneath the torchlight, a scene akin to hell was unfolding before him. A figure with wild hair and a terrifying aura was extending an arm, pinching someone. The person being pinched was letting out wave after wave of extremely tragic screams. The screams that Elder, you had heard earlier were coming from this individual. Around the two individuals, human skins were scattered all about, creating a horrifying sight. Not far from the pair, another 7 or 8 people were bound by ropes, watching the scene in front of them with faces filled with terror. "Uncle Master, have mercy, please have mercy." The pinched person pleaded for mercy amidst the screams. However, the wild-haired and terrifying figure remained unmoved. The large hand simply gripped the person's head tightly. Driven by his will, streams of bloodlight emerged from the victim's head, which were then absorbed into the figure's body. As the bloodlight continued to emerge, the screams of the person being pinched became weaker. The body began to wither, and by the time it went completely silent, it had turned into a piece of human skin. The human skin was casually tossed aside, fluttering to the ground. Elder Yu's heart constricted suddenly. He now understood how the human skins on the ground had come to be. They were left behind after the demon below had absorbed the flesh and essence blood of these people, leaving nothing behind. He could only wonder what sort of evil technique the demon below was practicing. To be able to absorb and refine the essence and vitality of a human being for personal gain, it was many times more evil and strange than anything their Wujin building had known. Elder Yu was overwhelmed with shock and couldn't help but conceal his presence even more. Such a strange and terrifying demon was unheard of even for him. If discovered, he feared even he might not escape unscathed. Fortunately, the wild-haired figure below seemed to have not noticed Elder Yu. After discarding the human skin, his gaze shifted to a group of people bound not far away. "Little Jiangwen, who do you think I should absorb essence blood from next?" The wild-haired figure addressed the central figure among them, a bearded old man stained with blood on his chest, speaking slowly and deliberately. "Demon, you demon!" The bearded old man spat with an expression of grief and anger. "I shouldn't have believed your deceitful words and let you go that day. I had no idea you, a demon, would be so cruel and merciless, not even sparing your own sect." Sadly, the bearded old man already appeared weak and clearly had suffered severe injuries. Even with outrage flooding his heart, longing to slay the demon before him with a single sword strike, he was powerless. "That's not how you should put it, little Jiangwen," the wild-haired figure retorted without any sign of anger, continuing at his leisurely pace. "Do you forget? It was you who plotted against me and locked me away in that dark and dreary place. We made a fair trade, remember? I told you I would share the secrets of the transformations of heaven and earth if you released me. Didn't I keep my promise afterward?" If I had known you had turned into such a demon, I should have slain you with a sword from the start. The bearded old man shouted sternly. Unfortunately, there's no medicine for regret in this world, and you've already missed your chance, the wild-haired figure said with a light chuckle. Then his expression gradually turned cold. Enough with the nonsense. Are you going to tell me where that item is hidden or not? Chapter 534. Unspeakably miserable, deceived. You desire the treasure left by the founder of our sect to wreak havoc upon the world? Demon, let me tell you, don't even think about it. Even if I die, I will not tell you where it is. The bearded old man's face was full of grief and indignation as he shouted loudly. Little Jiangwen, why must you do this? A disheveled figure sighed. You can't use the treasure anyway. Why insist on guarding it? Though I am unable to wield the treasure, I absolutely cannot allow it to fall into your hands, demon, and harm the innocent. Otherwise, how could I face our ancestors with any dignity when I go below? The bearded old man remained uncompromising. What if everyone in the Qingyun Sword Pavilion were to die and the lineage was broken? Would you then have the dignity to face those worthless ancestors? Seeing the bearded old man so stubborn, the disheveled figure finally lost patience. With a swift move, he grabbed a young disciple standing next to him. The disciple instantly screamed in terror. Master, save me, save me. The disheveled figure did not stop the young disciple's screams but instead turned to the bearded old man. Little Jiangwen, I remember you just took this young lad as your closed-door disciple not long ago. Do you really have the heart to let him end up flayed like those others beneath my feet? Demon, you are utterly ruthless and inhuman. The bearded old man, seeing his beloved disciple captured, couldn't help but curse angrily. That's more like it. The disheveled figure's face revealed a cruel smile. Little Jiangwen, if you don't want him to be drained of his essence blood and turned into a flayed skin, then tell me immediately where the treasure is. Watching his disciple struggling distressingly in the hands of the demon, tears and snot streaming down his face, the bearded old man's face showed a look of anguish. It seems, little Jiangwen, your heart is truly hard, willing for the sake of your own sense of justice to not even save your disciple, whom you love as your own child. The disheveled figure's eyes flashed fiercely, and without further words, he channeled his energy, causing a bloody glow to appear above the young disciple's head. Being drained of blood and marrow, having essence blood extracted, was obviously an exceedingly painful ordeal. The young disciple let out a terribly piercing scream. It sounded almost like a rebirth of a malevolent spirit, excessively haunting. Stop! I'll tell. The bearded old man, ultimately unable to watch his disciple die before his eyes, cried out dejectedly. So you are finally willing to talk, little Jiangwen. The disheveled figure's face showed a triumphant expression and released the young disciple, letting him fall to the ground. However, in just that brief moment, the young disciple's face had turned lifelessly pale, and his hair had also withered. Within just a few breaths, the young man seemed to have aged 10 years. Seeing this, the pain in the bearded old man's heart deepened, regretting not having decided sooner. Little Jiangwen, speak. Where is the item? The disheveled figure spoke indifferently. Junior Master, if you want to know where the treasure is, fine, but I have a condition, the bearded old man said weakly. You want me to let these few useless ones go? The disheveled figure immediately saw through his intention. Yes, if you let them go, I will tell Junior Master the hiding place of the treasure. Otherwise, even if you kill us all, you will never obtain the treasure. Seeing the resolve in the bearded old man's eyes, the disheveled figure knew he was speaking the truth. He knew the bearded old man's temperament well. If he continued to push him, this old fellow would probably prefer death to compromising further. Fine, these useless ones are of no benefit to me anyway. Feeding on their essence blood, I feel would even taint my cultivation. The disheveled figure waved his hand, and a burst of black strong energy flew out, cutting the ropes on the remaining people. Get out of here, Sect Master! The few who were freed all looked towards the bearded old man. The bearded old man closed his eyes. Go on, the situation is beyond retrieval, at least by leaving. You can preserve some lineage for our sword pavilion. The group shuddered, knelt down, and kowtowed 3 times to the bearded old man. Then, supporting each other, they carried the fallen young disciple, limping toward the outside of the mountain gate. Having also been seriously injured in the earlier fray with the disheveled elder, they could barely walk. As the group slowly disappeared beyond the mountain gate, the disheveled figure turned around. Little Jiangwen, I have let the people go. Now can you tell me where the treasure is? Junior Master jests, with your divine skills, it would take but a blink for you to catch up to them given the distance they've covered. How could your nephew dare take the risk? Let's wait an hour until Jian Ming and the others are truly safe. Then I will tell you the location of the item. The bearded old man spoke with an expressionless face. Little Jiangwen, do you really consider me so fickle and untrustworthy in your heart? The disheveled figure sighed. The bearded old man's expression was cold, silent, but his attitude said everything. Seeing this, the disheveled figure's gaze turned cold. Fine. I'll give you another hour. If you still won't speak, I will let you experience what it means to truly beg for life and beg for death. The martial arts arena fell into silence. The flickering torches, coupled with the disheveled figure's terrifying presence and the human skins scattered on the ground, made the place immensely eerie and strange. Elder Yu lay prone atop the mountain gate of the Qingyun Sword Pavilion, carefully concealing his energy, not daring to make the slightest movement. Chapter 535. Unspeakably miserable, deceived. In his arms, the exotic treasure emitted a trace of aura, enveloping him. This made him blend perfectly into the surrounding environment. Below, the disheveled figure had a cultivation that didn't seem very high, but he gave off an extremely dangerous sensation, especially when adding the horrifyingly strange devil technique that the other had previously employed. Even with the exotic treasure on him, he didn't dare to be careless. Indeed, the Tower Master had calculated correctly. With the change of heaven and earth, the recovery of spiritual energy, it was not only the child of fate and unparalleled prodigies born to inherit luck. There were also many devils and monsters emerging, creating chaos. This strange demon before him was probably such an existence. Time slowly trickled by, and the hour they had agreed upon was approaching. The atmosphere in the martial arts arena grew increasingly stifling. Finally, the disheveled figure spoke. An hour has passed, little Jiangwen. Tell me, where's the thing? Ah, an hour really passes quickly, doesn't it? The bearded old man said cryptically. Junior Master, do you think I would really tell you where it is? You dare deceive me? The disheveled figure's eyes snapped open, and a terrifying aura suddenly radiated from him. Little Jiangwen, as the head of a sect, you are being dishonest. Does this honor your ancestors? I listened to your slander that day. Releasing you was already a great sin. Now, adding the reputation of dishonesty, what does it matter? But don't even think about using our sword pavilion's ancestral treasure to harm the world. Good, very good. The disheveled figure laughed angrily. Then, with a flick of his hand, sucked the bearded old man to his palm and grasped his head. Little Jiangwen, you've brought this upon yourself. Don't blame me. I will let you taste the flavor of the soul-refining technique. As he spoke, black qi emerged from his hand, turning into small snakes that burrowed into the bearded old man's head. The black qi snakes seemed to contain some terrifying intent, and as soon as they burrowed into the bearded old man's head, even the leader of the sect could barely endure it, emitting a heaven-shattering scream. It was as if he was enduring unimaginable agony, uncontrollably screaming. How about it, the taste of my soul-refining technique isn't pleasant, is it, little Jiangwen? If you tell me where the thing is, I might grant you a quick end. The voice of the disheveled figure held a certain demonic power, which, even in such a situation, clearly entered the bearded old man's mind. Never. Think, even if my soul scatters, I will not tell you. The bearded old man gritted his teeth, as if uttering words from the depths of hell. Humph. Courting death. Seeing that his opponent still wasn't willing to talk, a ruthless light flickered in the eyes of the disheveled figure. No longer holding back, the black chi in his hands surged, completely shrouding the bearded old man's head. Ah! The bearded old man let out another heaven-shattering, harrowing scream, his body twisting and trembling, a sight so horrifying it was shocking. But, enduring unimaginable agony, the bearded old man still did not beg for mercy nor reveal anything about the treasure. Finally, under the torment of the black chi, the bearded old man's body gradually ceased convulsing, his life breath slowly fading. He was tortured to death alive. To think you endured to the dispersal of your soul and still didn't talk, little Jiangwen. I must commend you. That old undying man once appraised your resilience and certainly wasn't wrong about you. Looking at the collapsed, breathless bearded old man, though the disheveled figure wasn't happy, he had to accept the outcome. However, I refuse to believe you could have hidden it so well. Once I burn this broken sword pavilion down, we'll see if it appears. The disheveled figure would absolutely not give up just like that. To his former self, the treasure was just a common item. But for his current impoverished state, it was utterly crucial. Thus, he had to obtain it. Having said this, the disheveled figure hesitated no longer, immediately starting to set fires everywhere, since the treasure wouldn't be afraid of fire. The raging inferno gradually engulfed the entire Qingyun sword pavilion. A disheveled figure stood in the center of the martial arts arena, closing his eyes, sensing the movements throughout the Qingyun sword pavilion. The item contained a trace of spiritual nature. As long as it emitted the slightest trace of qi, it would surely not escape his perception. The disheveled figure focused all his energy on sensing. Yet, by the time the flames were about to die out, he still hadn't sensed the thread of qi he was looking for. Damn it! Where exactly did that old fellow hide the thing? Finally, the disheveled figure, furious and embarrassed, kicked the corpse of bearded old man into the flames. His eyes turned blood-red, his aura wildly fierce as if he were about to burst forth any moment. But ultimately, he suppressed the murderous intent in his heart and did not let it explode. His aura even mysteriously weakened and quickly receded. Cough, cough, damn it, that kid. I will eventually avenge that slash from the other day. The disheveled figure coughed twice, speaking venomously. That day in the holy city, he had been wounded by Lu Qing's sword qi, forcing him to use the heavenly demon disintegration technique just to barely escape. Not only was his primordial qi severely damaged, but more importantly, at the time, Lu Qing had just completed his heavenly tribulation, leaving remnants in his body. This made the sword qi he unleashed contain a trace of tribulation qi. For a demon cultivator like the disheveled figure, the qi of heavenly tribulation was one of the most loathed things imaginable. So even though a long time had passed, and he had consumed the essence blood of many people along the way from Central State, he still couldn't completely heal his injuries. This was also one of the reasons why he had to get his hands on the item. As long as he could refine the item, he could not only fully heal his injuries but also improve further, initially refining the foundation of a demon body. Unfortunately, this plan was doomed to be in vain. Looking at the burnt-down Qingyun sword pavilion, the disheveled figure prepared to leave. He also realized that since setting the fire hadn't helped him find the item, it was obvious that it had probably been moved by Jiangwen, that old fox, beforehand. No wonder he had insisted on having those people leave earlier. The item was very likely on them. Thinking of this, the disheveled figure suddenly had an epiphany, realizing he had probably been tricked by Jiangwen. He had actually sent the item out right in front of him. But, little Jiangwen, do you think you're the only one who can scheme? Though several have all been marked with demonic qi by me. Don't say they've only run for half an hour. Even if they run to the ends of the earth, I have a way to find them. The disheveled figure said softly towards the location of bearded old man's corpse. Then he strode out, not looking back, heading outside. After being deceived by bearded old man, he decided not only to retrieve the item. He also wanted to eradicate the Qingyun Sword Pavilion completely and sever this sect's lineage. The disheveled figure left the mountain gate and immediately used a movement technique to rush down the mountain. The Qingyun Sword Pavilion once again fell into silence. Only the still burning flames crackled and popped. It wasn't until much later that a dark figure slowly crawled down from the mountain gate of the Qingyun Sword Pavilion. Elder Yu looked at the completely burned-down Qingyun Sword Pavilion with a hint of lamentation. He had also known something of this sect. It was equally an ancient sect that had existed for 1,000 years. According to information passed down from his ancestors in the Wujin building, this sect had even participated in the encirclement and suppression of their Wujin building, yet had unexpectedly been easily annihilated by a mysterious and terrifying existence. That person just now, who exactly is he, with his devil technique so strange and terrifying, plainly even more fearsome than the legendary demon cultivators? Elder Yu still felt a chill remembering the scene he had witnessed before. Being able to directly consume human bone marrow essence blood to strengthen himself, such a devil technique, he had never encountered even in his ancestors' records. Yet just then, an ominously cold voice suddenly sounded not far away. No wonder I always felt something was amiss. It turns out there really is a rat hiding in the dark. At these words, Elder Yu immediately shuddered. A chill surged from the bottom of his heart straight to his crown. Chapter 536. Spirit Communication Tree. So there really was a rat lurking in the shadows. When Elder Yu heard this sentence, he was shocked and suddenly felt a chill rise from the bottom of his heart, surging towards his crown. Without thinking, he immediately executed his movement technique to its extreme, creating layers of illusions on the spot, desperately dodging forward. It was just as the illusion had appeared that a palm suddenly broke through, shattering the illusion and bursting the air currents. Had Elder Yu not dodged so quickly, he might have been grabbed through the back, his life hanging by a thread. The rat has quite an impressive movement technique. The disheveled figure was somewhat surprised. However, he did not stop, but rather stamped his foot and closely followed behind Elder Yu, launching another clawed strike. Elder Yu sensed this and was terrified. His own illusion clone had been so easily seen through. One could imagine that the other's martial arts realm was probably much higher than his. Thinking back to the strange devil technique the other had used earlier, Elder Yu had no intention of engaging in battle. He immediately stimulated the exotic treasure in his bosom. The next moment, a black halo emerged from within Elder Yu, rapidly enveloping his whole body. The black halo not only repelled the disheveled figure's palm, but also wrapped around Elder Yu's body, transforming into a streak of light, speeding down the mountain. Devilish magical treasure? The disheveled figure was taken aback, not expecting the observing rat to possess a treasure. But it was too late for him to stop it now. The power of the treasure was beyond his current ability to block. He could only watch helplessly as Elder Yu, carried by the black light, swiftly disappeared into the night. He actually let that rat escape. The disheveled figure was filled with annoyance. If he had known that the rat possessed a treasure, and a devilish magical treasure at that, he should have used his full strength from the beginning. If he could have seized that treasure, it would have given significant help to his currently destitute situation. My luck has been getting worse and worse lately. Could it be that the heavenly Tao of this world is starting to target me? This was the second time he had been thwarted. The disheveled figure immediately became alert. Ever since coming back from Central State, his luck had not been great. Not only could he not fully heal his injuries, but tonight he had been foiled twice. From the perspective of a cultivator, this was definitely not a good sign. It was very likely he had already caught the attention of the heavenly Tao of this world. Damn it, it's all that kid's fault. If he hadn't forced me to use the heavenly demon disintegration technique, causing my origin energy to leak out, how could I have been noticed by the heavenly Tao of this world? The disheveled figure, recalling the main cause of his current predicament, let a look of deep resentment flash in his eyes. If it weren't for the day he was wounded by Lu Qing, who snatched away his origin energy and forced him to use the heavenly demon disintegration technique, how could he have fallen to such a state? Every time he thought of this, the hatred in his heart, even if diluted by all the waters of the 5 lakes and 4 seas, could not be diminished in the slightest. Wait for it, one day, I will find where you are and destroy everything you have, and extract your divine soul to burn for 10 million years. Only then can the hatred in my heart be quelled. The disheveled figure's form gradually faded away, leaving only the voice filled with hatred lingering in the mountains and forests. Dozens of miles away, a streak of black light under the moonlight swept across the sky at low altitude. Soon, it descended into a hollow, and as the black light dissipated, Elder Yu's pale face was revealed. Elder Yu carefully took out a black, shuttle-shaped jade talisman from his bosom. Looking at the cracks on the talisman, Elder Yu felt somewhat heartbroken. The treasure given to him by the Tower Master could only be used 3 times at most. He had not expected that not long after leaving, he had already used it twice. One more time, and the treasure would shatter completely, becoming utterly useless. I didn't expect the outside world to have become so dangerous. In just a few days, I've encountered 2 life and death crises. Elder Yu looked back in the direction of Qingyun's sword pavilion with lingering fear. Without hesitation, he immediately executed his movement technique and continued on his way. The strange figure he had encountered earlier presented a danger that was even greater than the old man he had met at Wei Mansion that day. It wasn't that the man's cultivation was stronger, but that his cultivation technique was too strange and terrifying. The unmistakably pure demon path aura made even Elder Yu, the Wujin building elder, shudder. So even though he had already escaped dozens of miles, he still didn't feel safe. It seems it's time to head back. If even I fall outside, then there will be no one to bring back the information about the outside world. After making up his mind, Elder Yu's movement technique became even faster, gradually disappearing into the darkness. The tumultuous and unpredictable situation in the outside world did not disturb the serenity of Jili Village. Ever since Lu Qing had set up the array, the environment of Jili Village had only gotten better and better. The trees were lush, the temperature pleasant. Even during these scorching days, being there felt cool and refreshing. Furthermore, with the spiritual energy winding around, it was nearly indistinguishable from a heavenly paradise. The villagers also found that their bodies were becoming healthier and more vigorous day by day. Knowing that these changes were brought about by Lu Qing's spells, their gratitude towards Lu Qing increased every day. Grandpa Zhang, you said you had urgent matters to discuss with me. What is it? One day, while Lu Qing was performing the spirit rain technique on the spirit field, he saw Grandpa Zhang and several village elders making their way up the mountain to see him. Chapter 537. It's about the letter tree at the entrance to the village. Grandpa Zhang and several other elders marveled at the cloud rain technique displayed by Lu Qing. They had never seen nor heard of using spells to water the rice paddies before. The key was, the seedlings in the rice paddies watered by Lu Qing were equally peculiar. Not only did they grow exceptionally robust, but their leaf tips also shimmered with threads of golden light, looking very extraordinary. Ah Qing, why do your seedlings shimmer with golden light? An elder couldn't help but ask. These are new rice varieties that I've attempted to cultivate using the way of spells. Therefore, the seedlings grow a bit differently, Lu Qing explained with a smile. The villagers were already aware that he knew spells, so there was no need for him to be secretive. What will the rice grown from spells be like? Another elder exclaimed with wide eyes. I don't know what they will look like later on, but when it's time to harvest, everyone can come and see. That sounds good. The elders, who had been farmers all their lives, were naturally very curious about the rice cultivated with spells and readily agreed to come and see. By the way, Grandpa Zhang, you just mentioned something happened to the letter tree? Lu Qing asked. The letter tree, also known as the large tree to which villagers tied red ropes when going out. It held a special significance in the hearts of the villagers of Jili Village, and Lu Qing was also quite interested. We're not sure what's going on. Why don't you go and see for yourself? Grandpa Zhang said. All right, I'll go with you. Lu Qing had just finished watering the 2 acres of spirit field. After dispersing the clouds with a spell gesture, he descended the mountain with Grandpa Zhang and others, heading to the village entrance. By then, many people had already gathered at the village entrance. Many were surrounding the letter tree, looking at something and exclaiming in surprise from time to time. Lu Qing even saw Hu Laosan among the crowd. These days, the Hu family father and daughter had slowly integrated into the life of the village. Especially Hu Laosan, who was indeed a perceptive man. He naturally found it easy to win the villagers' good graces. Thus, he was gradually accepted by everyone. "Make way, everyone. Ah Qing is here." A villager saw Lu Qing and Grandpa Zhang approaching and called out. The villagers immediately parted to let Lu Qing and the others reach the letter tree. When he saw the letter tree, Lu Qing was also somewhat surprised. The appearance of the letter tree had undergone quite a few changes compared to before. First, the leaves had become greener, which was no surprise. Second, the entire tree had also become much taller. Especially the gnarled roots at the bottom, which now seemed intertwined, forming the shape of a small hut. Most importantly, Lu Qing sensed a peculiar fluctuation emanating from the tree. The power of incense? Just then, Yan's voice suddenly rang out in Lu Qing's mind. "Elder, what is the power of incense?" Lu Qing asked. There was no mention of the power of incense in the legacy left behind by the Lihua sect. "You don't know? That's normal. The Lihua sect didn't delve into the way of incense, so it's normal for you to be unaware. The so-called power of incense is actually a peculiar force formed by the condensation of pure thoughts and beliefs. Most cultivation sects do not study it. Rather, Suspended Mountain, which holds a grudge against you. In the ancient immortal cultivation era, they were quite adept at this way. Yet, who would have thought that this provincial tree could also condense the power of incense? Truly remarkable." Yan elaborated in Lu Qing's mind with a sense of enthusiasm, having a topic that Lu Qing was unfamiliar with. "I see. What is the use of the power of incense?" Lu Qing continued to inquire. "I'm not very clear on that." Yan shook his head. "The power of incense is exceedingly strange. Even in the ancient immortal cultivation era, only a few sects were proficient in this way. However, I've heard elders of the Lihua sect mention that the power of incense is very strange. Based on the prayer's intentions, it can condense into forces of various natures, unpredictable and very hard to guard against. But who knows what kind of power of incense is condensed in the spirit communication tree at the entrance of your village?" Upon hearing this, Lu Qing felt a slight stir in his heart. He activated his superpower and looked towards the spirit communication tree. After a few moments, a faint golden superpower light emerged from the spirit communication tree. At the same time, several pieces of information floated up. Spirit communication tree. A large tree that bears a hint of spiritual nature, nourished by spiritual energy and the sincere worship and thoughts of the villagers. This spirit communication tree has gathered a trace of the power of incense through the sincere and long-term worship of the villagers of Jili village. The power of incense on this spirit communication tree, formed through the worship of the villagers of Jili village, is closely related to the village and can protect this land. The power of incense on this spirit communication tree contains intentions of guardianship and peace. Tying the red rope, which represents the identity of the villagers, onto it, one may feel as if a trace of fate is protecting them in an obscure way. When Lu Qing finished reading the information revealed by the spirit communication tree, a look of surprise appeared in his eyes. He also understood why the power of incense within the spirit communication tree had formed. Yan had just said that the power of incense is only formed by the condensation of pure thoughts and beliefs. The spirit communication tree is the tree that the villagers of Jili village appeal to for safety. Every villager, when going out, ties a red rope onto its branches, and upon returning, takes the red rope down. This rule has never changed over the past decades. It can be said that the spirit communication tree has gathered the most pure hopes of the Jili village villagers, wishing for safety and the blessing of their loved ones. Therefore, it has gathered the power of incense, which now has protective strength. In other words, from now on, when the villagers go out, as long as they tie a red rope to the tree, it will no longer just be a plea for safety, but in fact, they will receive the blessing of the spirit communication tree and carry a trace of fate for protection, ensuring that while they are away, all will go smoothly, misfortunes will turn into blessings, and they'll have a safe journey. Ah Ching, is there something wrong with the spirit communication tree? Grandpa Zhang, seeing Lu Qing's fixed gaze on the spirit communication tree, asked with some worry. The other villagers also looked at Lu Qing with concern, including the children. The spirit communication tree holds a special place in Zhuli village, and nearly all the villagers have special feelings for it. The younger ones have spent many of their childhood moments under the spirit communication tree, and so many villagers from a young age have been repeatedly warned not to climb or harm the spirit communication tree. Hence, everyone was greatly concerned about any changes to it. Seeing the concerned looks of the villagers, Lu Qing smiled. Rest assured, everyone, there's nothing wrong with the spirit communication tree. On the contrary, this change is actually a good thing. A good thing? What good thing? An elder immediately asked. This land has undergone some changes, and with the spirit communication tree having grown for so many years, drawing from heaven and earth's essence, in addition to the village's regular worship, it has now developed a hint of spiritual nature and has become a true spirit tree. If we continue to cherish it, it will be able to better protect the safety of our village. Lu Qing did his best to explain things in a way that everyone could understand. Sure enough, upon hearing that the spirit communication tree had become spirit-imbued, everyone was shocked. The spirit communication tree has become spirit-imbued? So it has developed a spiritual nature. Does that mean the spirit communication tree can hear us speak now? A great thing! This is wonderful news! After the shock, joy took its place. Although everybody didn't fully understand what it meant for the spirit communication tree to become spirit-imbued, they could understand when Lu Qing said it could better protect the village. Suddenly, a villager grabbed his young son by the ear. You little rascal, did you hear what Ah Qing said? From now on, you are not allowed to disrespect the spirit communication tree. If I catch you climbing on it like you did this morning, I'll break your legs. Yes, and you there, I saw you the day before yesterday, daring to break the tree's branches and leaves. If you dare to do it again, I'll beat you to death. Another villager similarly grabbed his own son's ear. The other villagers, upon hearing this, also began chastising their own children. In no time, the place was filled with the sound of children begging for mercy. Chapter 538. Qi Refining Great Success, Harvesting Spirit Grain. Deep within the 10,000 Great Mountains within the Jade Cave, Lu Qing was sitting cross-legged in the usual cavern where he practiced his cultivation. Spiritual energy gathered around him, swiftly absorbed by him. It was fortunate that he was in the Jade Cave, where an ancient array gathered spiritual energy. If he had been in Zhili village, the simple array he had set up there would not have been able to support his current cultivation needs. A vast amount of spiritual energy was continuously absorbed by Lu Qing, transforming into 5 elements spiritual power. Then, it was refined through the 5 elements gourd in his dantian. Unknowingly, the suction force in Lu Qing's dantian increased, draining the entire Jade Cave of spiritual energy. So much so that the ancient array momentarily could not keep up with the supply. Following that, Lu Qing's body shook, and a treasure light emerged from him. A tremendously strong aura emanated from his body. Suddenly, a phantom appeared from a small cauldron hanging around Lu Qing's neck, floating midair. Yen looked at the thick white treasure light on Lu Qing and bore a complex gaze. He has broken through again. In just a few months, he advanced from the Qi Refining early stage to the Qi Refining middle stage and now to the stage of Qi Refining great success. His talent for cultivation is truly terrifying. Yen felt both shocked and amazed. Over these months, he had watched Lu Qing cultivate. Honestly, Yen did not consider Lu Qing's cultivation very diligent. Each day, there were various chores to be busy with. either tending to the spirit field and medicine field or overseeing the studies of little Yen and little Li, or he would be cooking meals for everyone. He also frequently joined the elder doctor in treating villagers who sought medical help from the mountains and preparing medicines, doing good deeds. He even occasionally went out of the village to fish with little Li, often spending half a day at it. The time he spent on cultivation each day was minimal. To say he was diligent would be an overstatement. It was more apt to describe him as indolent. If it had been the Li Hua sect back in the day, a disciple as relaxed as Lu Qing would surely have faced punishment. More seriously, he might have been directly expelled from the sect. Yet, under such a negligent and extremely casual attitude towards cultivation, Yen had watched him break through from the qi refining early stage to the qi refining middle stage in just over a month. And now, after about 2 more months, he had continued from the qi refining middle stage to qi refining great success. What's more, he was cultivating the famously slow-aware speed 5 elements body refining technique from the ancient immortal cultivation era. You should know, if it were someone else, this period might not even suffice to grasp the basics of this cultivation technique. During these 2 or 3 months, Yen had never once seen Lu Qing troubled by his cultivation. Nor had Lu Qing ever experienced a standstill in his cultivation status. Although he didn't spend much time daily on cultivation, Yen could clearly feel that Lu Qing was growing stronger almost every moment. The more time Yen spent with Lu Qing, the more he could sense the terrifying potential hidden deep within his body, vast and bottomless like a sea of smoke. Unconsciously, Yen began to feel that if he continued following Lu Qing, perhaps he truly had a day when he could break free from his bounds. After a while, the treasure light on Lu Qing receded, and his aura gradually retracted as he opened his eyes. His eyes were as tender as jade, as deep and serene as the ocean. Congratulations, young master, on successfully breaking through to the stage of qi refining great success. Yen immediately congratulated him. Just a minor breakthrough, nothing worth mentioning, Lu Qing said calmly. He had the 5 elements gourd as his life-bound spiritual treasure, constantly refining pure spiritual power for him. Though it seemed he spent little time on cultivation, his cultivation status was actually growing continuously day and night, furthermore enhanced by the heavenly tribulation baptism and the solid foundation laid by the 9 streams of origin energy. A few months to break through 2 minor realms to Lu Qing was perfectly normal. Although it's just a minor realm breakthrough, young master, you possess a unique physical talent and a robust foundation. Just reaching qi refining great success, you already exhibit the treasure light, a capability many foundation establishment cultivators might not amount to, said Yen, not intending it as flattery. Although Lu Qing was still within the qi refinement realm, the white treasure light emanating from his body was exceptionally thick. His physical strength was entirely comparable to a body cultivator who had reached great success in the foundation establishment stage. If it came down to a real fight, even without using magical treasures or other means, just with his physical power alone, he could probably defeat most foundation establishment cultivators. Lu Qing shook his head and made no reply. Foundation establishment cultivators had their own understanding of the heaven and earth rules, able to employ methods far surpassing those in the qi refinement realm. Although his power was strong, his realm was not yet sufficient. If he really faced such an enemy, relying solely on physical power, it wasn't certain he could win. Senior Yen, how long did I spend in this retreat? Not long, just 3 days. 3 days. Lu Qing nodded. Before I entered the mountains, the spirit grain in the spirit field was almost fully ripe. Going back this time, I can just harvest them. Indeed, the batch of spirit grain that Lu Qing had enchanted a few months ago, after being carefully tended during this period, was finally ready for harvest. Originally, Lu Qing had planned to harvest them 3 days ago, but he suddenly felt the opportunity for a breakthrough. This led to his last-minute decision to retreat into the mountains, slightly delaying the harvesting of the spirit grain. Thinking of this, Lu Qing's heart grew eager. He immediately left the Jade Cave, exited the valley, and hurriedly made his way towards the village. Chapter 539. While traveling, Lu Qing was also sensing the conditions in the mountain forest. Then he discovered that, over the past several months, the spiritual energy in the mountains had become much richer. The vegetation had also become more lush, and many of the already quite tall trees had grown even larger. As for the poisonous insects and snakes, there was no need to mention them. Not only had their venom become stronger, but their sizes had also begun to mutate. While on his way, Lu Qing occasionally saw poison spiders as big as one's face, with dazzling colors. Had his cultivation not been profound and the aura he emitted not deterred these poisonous creatures, they would not have dared to draw near. Had a weaker martial artist entered, they would probably have been attacked by various poisonous creatures. This 10,000 Great Mountains is almost entirely turning into a no-man's land for humans. Aside from cultivators with substantial advancements in their cultivation, ordinary martial artists entering here would probably find no way to survive. Lu Qing felt the changes in the mountains and thought to himself. He planned to warn the villagers again after returning to the village, to absolutely not enter the mountains lightly. With Lu Qing's current speed, it wouldn't take much time to travel from the Jade Cave back to Jili village. Before long, he had already returned to the village. First, he sensed the array, and finding nothing unusual, Lu Qing directly went to the half-mountain small courtyard. He just happened to see his master, Grandpa Zhang, and several other elderly villagers from the village standing beside the spirit field, looking worriedly at the spirit grain in the field. "Master, Grandpa Zhang, Grandpa Chen's." Lu Qing approached with a greeting. "Ah Qing, have you come out of retreat?" The elder doctor turned around with a jolt of surprise. "I was just worrying about whether or not to harvest the spirit grain, and you've returned at the perfect time. Is the spirit grain fully ripe?" asked Lu Qing. "It's fully ripe. I just asked Old Man Zhang and the others, and after looking, they said the spirit grain could indeed be fully ripe. If it's not harvested soon, it might start to fall," the elder doctor said. That was the reason for his worry. The spirit grain had been planted by Lu Qing, and now that it was time to harvest it, he had unexpectedly gone into seclusion. If they did not harvest it in time, the fully ripened grain falling into the soil would be quite a pity. After all, this was a spiritual object, and every grain of spirit rice was quite valuable. Fortunately, now that Lu Qing had returned in time, he no longer needed to be troubled. "Indeed, Ah Qing, if you don't harvest your spirit grain, we're afraid a lot will be wasted," said Old Man Zhang and the others. Lu Qing walked to the edge of the spirit field and looked at the spirit grain within. In the field, each stalk of spirit grain bore heavy heads of grain, each kernel golden and lustrous, full and distinct. Indeed, it was the best time to harvest. He nodded. "Grandpa Zhang and the others are right. Indeed, the spirit grain should be harvested. Then we shouldn't delay. I'll go get the scythes," the elder doctor quickly said. "Just in time, we're not busy with anything else, so we can help you harvest as well." Old Man Zhang and several other elders also began rolling up their sleeves, ready to help. However, Lu Qing couldn't dare let these elders toil in the fields, and he swiftly stopped them. "Master, Grandpa Zhang, there's no need for such trouble. I have a better method for harvesting spirit grain. We don't need scythes." "A better method?" The elder doctor was taken aback. "If we're not using scythes to harvest the grain, what else can we use?" Old Man Zhang and the others were all puzzled. "Use this." After saying that, Lu Qing gave a slight smile, took off the Chenkuan Qi bag from his waist, tossed it forward, and threw it into the air. With the prompting of his mind, the bag in midair grew upon catching the wind, quickly reaching the size of half a room. Then, with the bag's mouth facing downward, a beam of green light emerged from the opening, shining down on the spirit field. Wherever the green light touched, the spirit grain in the field began to detach from the stalks, floated upward, and was absorbed into the Chenkuan Qi bag. The green light moved continuously, and wherever it went, the spirit grain was sucked away. In no time at all, the more than 2 acres of spirit field had been shown over once, and all the spirit grain had been collected into the Chenkuan Qi bag. After the spirit grain was harvested, Lu Qing pinched a spell, and suddenly, streaks of green wind blades flew out of the Chenkuan Chi bag, heading towards the spirit field. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The wind blades flashed, and in almost an instant, the stalks of grain that stood erect in the field were uniformly and neatly cut off at the base, falling orderly in the field. Having completed all this, Lu Qing then beckoned with his hand, and the Chenkuan Chi bag swiftly shrank and fell into his hand. The entire process took just a few dozen breaths of time, and this scene naturally stunned Grandpa Zhang and the others. They had never imagined that Lu Qing would harvest rice in such a magical way. The speed was so fast, it completely surpassed their imagination. You see, normally when they harvested rice, the whole family would work together, and it would take several days to finish harvesting 2 acres of rice fields. After all, harvesting rice wasn't an easy task. Beyond cutting it down, there were also threshing, transporting, and afterwards the need to air dry and sun cure. Every step was extremely arduous. Where could they have imagined that there existed such a convenient and quick method of harvesting as Lu Qing had? In an instant, all the elders were looking at Lu Qing's Chenkuan Chi bag with burning eyes. Ah Qing, what is this magical treasure that can automatically harvest rice? Seeing the eager eyes of Grandpa Zhang and the others, Lu Qing understood what they were thinking. He couldn't help but laugh and said, Grandpa Zhang, this magical treasure is called Chenkuan Chi bag, a treasure I acquired by chance, which contains a space that can hold everything. What a treasure! What a treasure! The elders were even more astonished upon hearing this. Right, Grandpa Zhang, I said I wanted to invite everyone in the village for a meal when I came back from my last trip, but I never found a good opportunity. Now that the spirit grain has matured, tomorrow, I'll invite everyone to enjoy a meal of spirit rice. Lu Qing said with a smile. You are going to use this spirit rice to invite everyone in the village for a meal? Grandpa Zhang's eyes widened. Although he didn't know what effects Lu Qing's cultivated spirit rice had, he had seen more than once Lu Qing casting spells every morning to irrigate the spirit field. Rice cultivated and watered with spells was, unquestionably, extremely precious. Yes, the seeds for this batch of spirit grain were provided by everyone in the village. Now that the spirit grain has matured, it's only right for everyone to taste it. Lu Qing nodded. That's true. Then once I go back, I'll tell everyone about this. Upon hearing this, Grandpa Zhang thought for a moment and did not object. Seeing that Grandpa Zhang agreed, the other elders naturally had no objections either. Moreover, they were very curious about the taste of the spirit rice. After all, they had seen the appearance of the spirit grain before. They had been farming their entire lives and had never seen rice with such good quality. The plump grains looked very tempting. They also wondered what the cooked rice would taste like. Oh, Ah Qing, are you planning to use these rice straws for firewood? At this moment, one of the elders suddenly asked. No, Lu Qing smiled. It would be a waste to just burn these rice straws directly. They can be put to good use. Grandpa Mu, are you interested in them? The elder said a bit embarrassedly. I just felt that it would be such a shame to burn such fine rice straws. I know Grandpa Mu is very skilled at weaving. Just in time, I have something I'd like to ask for your help with. Uncle Mu was startled. What is it? I would like to ask Grandpa Mu to weave these rice straws into mats or pillows. That's easy. Leave it to me. Upon hearing this, Uncle Mu immediately slapped his chest, indicating no problem. He had great confidence in his craftsmanship. There was no one within 10 miles who had a better weaving technique than his. Then I'll leave it in Grandpa Mu's capable hands, Lu Qing said with a smile. These rice straws, nourished by nature's spiritual energy, were naturally imbued with spiritual charm and counted as spiritual objects. If they could be woven into mats or meditation cushions, long-term use could nourish the body and stabilize the heart and spirit. Indeed, they would be considered valuable treasures, which is why he didn't want to waste them. Chapter 540, Banquet, the whereabouts of Wei Zihao. Jili village was bustling with excitement. When the villagers learned that Lu Qing was inviting everyone in the village for a meal and was going to cook spiritual rice, they were all very much looking forward to it. The Lu family had 2 mu of spirit field behind Half Mountain small courtyard, which most people in the village had gone to see. They knew that the spirit grain growing in those 2 mu of spirit field was prospering wonderfully. The ears of rice that grew from the spirit rice were heavy and plump, the best they had ever seen. Therefore, everyone was curious about the taste of rice cooked from such fine grains. At the Lu family courtyard, tables and chairs of various styles were now arrayed, each set different from the next. They were all brought over from their own homes by the villagers, hastily put together. This was how feasts were done in the countryside. Usually, when one family holds a feast, everyone pitches in to help. Lu Qing, with an apron tied around his waist, was busy in front of a temporary stove set up in the courtyard. Since he was the host today, it was natural for him to cook himself. For cooking large pots of food like this, the home kitchen was too small, so he simply built a temporary stove outside. At this moment, Lu Qing was busily cutting meat. On a simple cutting board, the light of the knife flashed, and large chunks of beef, lamb, and pork were quickly cut into cubes or thin slices by Lu Qing. Swish, swish, swish. With a flurry of knife movements, Lu Qing lightly pressed and turned his palm, and a piece of bright red beef turned into half a fan of nicely sliced beef. Each slice of meat seemed to be measured precisely as if with a ruler, incredibly uniform. The onlookers were staring, eyes wide. This made them understand why Lu Qing had refused their offer to help earlier. With such knife skills, they could practice their whole lives and never learn his technique. If they tried to help, they were likely to do more harm than good. Ma Gu was also watching Lu Qing cut the vegetables. However, unlike the villagers who were just watching for fun, he was observing the implications in Lu Qing's saber technique. As a sword skill practitioner who had also comprehended the concept of domain, Lu Qing's realm of saber technique had already reached the stage of divine transcendence. Even when merely using a kitchen knife to cut vegetables, the implication of his sword skill was enough to captivate Ma Gu. While everyone was watching Lu Qing chop, a commotion came from outside the courtyard. Soon, Xiao Tian arrived with several men, carrying many items with them. "Young Master Lu, I have brought over the chickens, ducks, and fish you wanted," said Xiao Tian respectfully. "Good. Just put them over there for now," nodded Lu Qing. "Is there anything else you need us to do, young Master Lu?" Xiao Tian asked. "Not at the moment. Oh, and you guys should stay as well, have an informal meal." Seeing Xiao Tian's hesitation, Ma Gu came over from the side and lightly tapped him on the head. "Stay if you're told to stay, what's with all the babble?" he said, glaring. This silly boy, did he not know how fortunate it was to be able to stay for such a meal? Ma Gu, knowing the value of spiritual rice, spoke with some frustration. "I got it, Uncle Ma. Then I will impose on young Master Lu." Xiao Tian never dared to defy Ma Gu's words and immediately shrank his head, whispering his compliance. Lu Qing smiled. "It's just a simple meal. No need to be nervous." Once Xiao Tian went to find a spot, other villagers finally found something they could do. They went forward to take down the chickens, ducks, and fish Xiao Tian had brought and began to slaughter them. They couldn't help Lu Qing with chopping vegetables, but they were quite capable of handling tasks like slaughtering poultry. With the concerted efforts of the villagers, it wasn't long before they had prepared most of the ingredients. Basins of slaughtered chickens, ducks, and fish, as well as the beef and mutton slices cut by Lu Qing, were laid out. Even before the cooking began, the villagers were already salivating a little. There was nothing they could do. Jili village had always been poor, and aside from New Year celebrations or someone hosting a feast, they seldom had the chance to eat such good meat on ordinary days. Lu Qing was well aware that the villagers seldom had the chance to eat meat, which is why he had specifically asked Xiao Tian to buy a large quantity of meat. Seeing that the preparation of ingredients was finished, it was time to start cooking. Because of the number of people, Lu Qing decided not to cook delicate dishes, but instead go for big pot cooking. However, he believed that with his skills and the various seasonings he had developed over the years, even big pot dishes could not turn out bad. Soon, a large iron pot was set up, and after the firewood was burning strongly, Lu Qing spooned a large piece of solidified lard into the pot. With a sizzling sound, the lard melted, and a fragrant aroma rose. When the oil was hot enough and had fully coated the pot, Lu Qing dropped in a piece of sugar, frying it to a caramel color. Afterwards, he poured in a large plate of cubed pork belly, which had already been blanched in water. The crackling sound erupted, and under the high temperature, the rich aroma of meat quickly permeated the entire courtyard. This made the villagers, who were helping nearby, involuntarily twitch their noses. Especially the children, who couldn't help but drool. Couldn't be helped, the aroma of the meat was too tempting. Smelling such a rich meaty fragrance, everyone's anticipation for today's feast grew even more. Once Lu Qing had gotten a nice caramelization on the pork, he started to add water and various spices and left it to simmer slowly. Meanwhile, he set up another pot and began to prepare other dishes. While Lu Qing was deeply engrossed, multitasking, and cooking multiple pots at once. The Wei family residence, however, was falling into a bout of delight.